I saved the best for last. The most important thing to me, you know, when I was at IU in the fall of 1950, I met my wife, Nancy.
The woman that many people would say saved the Indiana Pacers franchise.
The first lady of the Pacers, the great Nancy Leonard.
They said, we're running out of money. We don't have enough money to pay the salaries of the players. For some reason, I said, we just need some kind of exciting activity for the fans, like a telethon.
As of 12:25, we've got an hour and 50 minutes to go.
Bob, we're at 8,028.
If the Pacers don't survive, do we get the Colts in 1984? Does the amateur sports initiative really take hold as it did in the early 80s? I think that was really a major component to Indianapolis being able to build itself not only as a great town, but a great sports town.
They helped resurrect the team from almost going into some sort of financial default.
There were like 8 or 10 owners of the Pacers at that time. They felt they needed a general manager. Pretty soon I just said, there are so many people that are qualified to be a general manager. And I said, but I do feel the teams that seem to really have it all together have somebody that have had some involvement in the sport. And it was dead silence, and I thought, oh my God, what have I said? And one of the owners said, well then, if you know all that, why don't you do it? And Bob, you know what he said? He looked at me and he said, she can do it. And they said, okay, that's it.
She took over and she did everything inside, all the paper, everything had to come through Nancy.
You have Nancy watch the U.S. Open and how these golfers walk out and tell her to pick a favorite.
That's easy. You just go and watch all the golfers, and when you see the guy with the cutest legs, you pick him.
My biggest accomplishment was not that telethon. Do you know that I started the pace weights in the basement of my house?
One night we were down there, my little 2-year-old, who is Tommy, I saw this blonde head look around the corner of the stairs. It was Tommy watching those girls.
What would it have meant to him to see a championship?
I look up in the stands at the games, and I think, oh my gosh, Bob, you brought this to Indianapolis. It's hard. It's been such a wonderful ride.
The First Lady of Indianapolis sports, and we've all learned a lot more about Nancy Leonard, if you didn't know already, over the last 24 hours as we honor the life, the legacy, the memory of Nancy Leonard, who's gone to be with Slick, passing away yesterday at the age of 93. Great job on that, Mark Dykton. I know you worked really hard on that all day long, and I thought it painted a vivid picture of who Nancy was and what she meant to not just the Pacers, but to this city in general. And it is absolutely a life worth celebrating, remembering, honoring for anyone who's just even a fringe sports fan. And even if you're not a sports fan, a lot of the ripple effects of what she did made this city what it is. Good morning, Kevin Bowen. Good morning, James Boyd. Mark, congratulations on a fantastic tribute to Nancy there. We unfortunately broke the news. We didn't break the news, but we learned of the news very late in the show yesterday, really on the way out. Didn't have much time to talk about Nancy. We'll do that for a few minutes this morning before we start to address some of the other things that are in front of us and on our plate. Kevin, I want to start with you. You're an Indianapolis native. You grew up here. You've been to Market Square Arena in the old days. You've been to all the things as they've evolved over the years. When I say the name Nancy Leonard, what do you think?
Yeah, you know, I've always said to myself, without Peyton Manning, I don't have this job. Honestly, I probably should start with Nancy Leonard. I think she's one of those people that you go to first because, honestly, maybe without her, maybe there's no Peyton Manning, frankly, in this market either. And I also thought yesterday about Monday's show. You know, remember how we started Monday's show? Such a jovial nature to sitting here saying, hey, we need 5 hours to discuss all these Indiana sports stories. Do all those Indiana sports stories exist in 2025 without her presence? And again, First Lady, like you said, of the Indiana Pacers and, you know, everything she did from a telethon standpoint. I think for the most part, our audience understands that background. The more I was reading up on her, I didn't realize how big of a pillar she was in getting the three-point line to become a thing in the ABA. And, I mean, think about the three-point line from an entertainment value standpoint. Like, that's just like that's a big deal to a lot of people, and yet when you save an NBA franchise, it gets pushed down the rung a little bit in what you share. So, Mark, tremendous. Your best work right there. And I thought Jake and John both did a wonderful job yesterday in paying tribute to Nancy. And I'm glad we get the opportunity to do it today.
Yeah, and if you have the chance to go back online and listen to either of those two shows, they were reacting in real time. Obviously, we had just learned about it at the very end of our show. But I know on Jake's show alone, Kevin Pritchard called in all on his own. We talked to Mark Boyle. There were several key people from the entire lifespan of Nancy and Slick and that team and growing up with it. I would highly encourage you to go back and listen to some of that. James Boyd, I know this is an adopted city for you. You've been here, and one of the things I like about you, one of the reasons that I wanted to bring you in to the Fan is you have jumped into the deep end of Indianapolis sports head first. High school games, local college games, the universities, the NBA, the NFL, and you've kind of landed with the Athletic covering the Colts, but I love the fact that you are out and about and you're everywhere. When you hear the name Nancy Leonard as somebody who adopted this city over the last several years and has gone all in here, what do you know? What do you think about it?
I think for me personally, it probably became a bigger deal to me when the Pacers made the finals this most previous time, because during that run, I had so many people telling me about how things used to be and how they aren't supposed to be here. And you hear that cliche line a lot, like, oh, nobody believed in us. We're not supposed to be here. This is uncharted territory. But it kind of is, because they literally are not supposed to be here without the telethon. And so going back through the history of the franchise, learning about Nancy and Slick, and the two legends that they are. And the cool part about it is whenever I would bring up Slick, because that's who I learned about first, everyone was like, wait a second, James, you're still new here. You're not Hoosierized just yet, because you got to go Nancy too. And this isn't like a he's one rung above her type of thing. No, they're a pair together. Yep. So that's what I've learned along the way. And I go back to a story I wrote right before they played Game 7. And in the story, I mentioned all of the things that Nancy did to save this franchise. And the one line that sticks out to me that I used in the story that really kind of resonates today was, their journey from their dire past powers their defiant present. So all this, it's us against the world mentality that the Pacers embraced during that finals run, that's what they kind of had to even have an existence. It's like, hey, we're going to do for us because nobody else will. So we're going to ask our city and our fans to believe in us, when if they did not, this franchise would have been elsewhere. So much respect to Nancy Leonard. I had a chance to ask Rick Carlisle about her and Slick during the finals, and nothing but great things to say about them during that run. And so I'm glad she got a chance to see them get back to the finals, play on such a big stage. And again, you saw Tyrese Halliburton react to the news yesterday, and Miles Turner after they made it to the finals, going over to hug her. So obviously a lot of respect from past and present players.
First time around on the morning show for Mark and I together, Slick Leonard was an indomitable part of what we did. He not only joined us on the weekly, but oftentimes just because we needed to talk to Slick about something. And it was always the same thing, Mark. It was, hey, let's get Slick on, and you'd make a phone call, and only one person would answer that phone and deal with how everything needed to be done.
I can still just hear the inflection. This is the Leonards. This is Nancy. How you doing, Mark? I'm like, doing well. Slick there. She's like, yep, do you mind if I'm going to listen on the other end? I'm like, that's fine too. Go ahead. And she'd chime in every once in a while and everything. And there'd be time where Slick would be trying to answer a question about who the Pacers were playing in an opponent or something like that. And he'd blank on a player's name or something like that. And you'd hear a whisper, Jeremy Lamb. And you're like, Jeremy Lamb, really good. And like, you could just tell he had that influence on. And it was just great to see. And two great humans there. So sad that they're both no longer with us, but glad they're back together.
And I'll tell you what, just as a married guy, when you look at the relationship, and Kevin, you could chime in on this, that just the day in, day out, year in, year out, decade in, decade out, togetherness and oneness of Slick and Nancy. If you're married at all and you saw that, it was inspiring, Kevin. There's no other way to put it. It just was.
Yeah, certainly. I think that's really well said. I want to make sure we shared this. I got a DM yesterday from listener Jeffrey. It goes, needs to be a statue of Nancy and Slick, arm in arm, waving to all attendees who come into the Fieldhouse lobby. That specific image, them welcoming us into.
I like the idea of that being in the
building
lobby.
Makes
me too.
total sense.
I hadn't thought about that. That's cool.
So Jeffrey, thank you for that. I think that is an awesome idea. I know Tyrese mentioned yesterday in his tweet, up in the rafters. Obviously, Slick is up there, Nancy as well. But that to me would be an awesome image. I think one of the cooler aspects of Gainbridge Fieldhouse is that lobby. I think it's such a welcoming environment. Obviously, you saw it play out on that infamous Saturday night in Game 6 of the finals with Miles Turner embracing Nancy Leonard behind that bench. And, Tyrese shared that video yesterday, TJ McConnell. Like, that to me, I think would be a really, really cool image. So, maybe the powers that be over there off of Pennsylvania and Delaware, hopefully that can come to fruition.
Yeah, we've got a lot of work to do today. Obviously, we got a big weekend of football coming up, and we'll talk a little bit more about everything else that's happening in our area all day long. We'll do some of the regular Thursday things that we do, but for a brief moment, we will talk to Eddie White, who will be here just for a few minutes at the top of the hour, 8 o'clock, because Eddie's a guy that saw a lot of this develop over the years and was kind of behind the scenes and seeing how it all worked out. I want to get his thoughts on that. He is a tremendous link between Pacers present, Pacers past in a lot of ways, and so I'm looking forward to that. As I mentioned, we got a lot of football to talk about as well. The Colts were back at work yesterday. We'll get you caught up on all those things in a minute, but this show is dedicated to, as I said, the life, the legacy, the memory, the celebration of Nancy Leonard and, of course, Slick, and they are together again, and I can only imagine we'll be forevermore as we'll continue the Fan Morning Show next, 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Good morning. Week 4 in the National Football League kicks off tonight. It'll be the Seahawks at the Cardinals, an NFC West matchup. A few of us will be paying attention to that, as we always do for the National Football League, but all eyes here on Sunday afternoon out west when the Los Angeles Rams, another member of the NFC West, will be hosting the Indianapolis Colts. Kevin Bowen, injury updates after practice yesterday. What do we have?
Yeah, there's a lot of them, and I don't like hearing a change in the body parts for Kenny Moore II in terms of where that injury is. Shane Steichen said more in the Achilles area versus calf. He was at practice with a boot on that left leg. So, again, I don't think goes without saying. I have no medical education, but that doesn't sound good to me. Granted, the Colts are still not talking about injured reserve for him or anything like that, but nonetheless, his availability for this week looks very much up in the air. Alec Pearson, concussion protocol. Matt Gonzalez, starting right guard, missed practice with a toe injury to force Buckner out with a back. Granted, Buckner has missed time due to that back injury before in the last couple of years and still played. So definitely notable names, and we'll see how the week progresses here, but it looks like the Colts could be down a couple of key guys here in week 4.
Yeah, a lot of those names are big names, and James Boyd, as we take a look at all of that. Good news again for the Colts. They just keep rolling. Jonathan Taylor, back-to-back AFC Offensive Player of the Week. JT's on a roll.
Absolutely. Just to round out the last couple of absences from yesterday, Xavier Howard missed yesterday due to rest, the veteran cornerback. We did see Mike Hilton, by the way, newly signed, practicing yesterday. And then Rigoberto Sanchez, the punter for the Colts, was not there due to a personal matter. So hope everything's good with his family. But getting back to JT, yes, back-to-back AFC Offensive Player of the Week honors. And I believe this is the 5th time he's received that honor in his career. And I would argue, looking through the numbers, I have a story coming out later today, or actually tomorrow at The Athletic, where you will really get to see some of the numbers that I would argue suggest that JT is better through these first 3 weeks than he's ever been in his career. And this is a guy who was first-team All-Pro, as you know, Jeff, a few years ago.
I thought it was the craziest stat I've seen. The Colts sent this out yesterday upon Jonathan Taylor winning back-to-back AFC Offensive Player of the Weeks. He is the first player in franchise history. Not Manning, not James, not Marvin, not Reggie, not Dallas, not Andrew Luck, not T.Y. Hilton. He is the first player in franchise history to win back-to-back Offensive Player of the Weeks. And I get there's some other stuff that goes into that, obviously, around the league and around the conference, but damn, that is quite impressive.
I think the league should be ashamed because there's no way that Peyton Manning won a league record 5 MVPs and he was never the back-to-back Player of the Week in
I was
the AFC.
stunned when I saw that.
That's crazy.
It was probably every other week him and Brady at that
I guess
point in
so.
time, right? But no, that's an amazing stat. I saw that yesterday, and I found myself, again, 2 or 3 times yesterday, James, watching that 46-yard touchdown run again yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, we should play the clip, and I'll get Mark to pull it. Josh Downs reacted to that play on his podcast with his brother, Caleb Downs, who plays at Ohio State, star player, going to be a top 5 pick whenever he comes out of the draft. I believe he's eligible next year. But, yeah, it was quite special to see. And I love to see the players' reactions to that because that kind of lets you know how crazy it is when you have those guys reacting like us when they're on the same field as Jonathan Taylor.
No question about it. We'll be talking about it all morning long and getting you ready to go for the Colts and Rams Sunday afternoon here on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. The Indiana Fever continue the playoffs tomorrow night at home at the Fieldhouse. And JB, all even up. They did their job. They went to Vegas. They got a split. It's now a best-of-3 series, and the Fever have home court advantage. Can they get back to what they did in Game 1 as opposed to the just disjointed nature of Game 2?
Yeah, first and foremost, I just hope that the officiating, man, there is something called early. I'm not saying I want it to be a slow game because of a ton of fouls, but come on, man, we can't be watching rugby like we did, I thought, in Game 2. But then getting back to actual scheme stuff, I think a lot of it comes down to who else can make shots beyond Kelsey Mitchell, but also she can't have an off game. I mean, that's just quite how true it is. It's obvious she has to be on her A game, but the surrounding cast, can others step up as well? And then defensively, can you make life hard on Asia Wilson? And then, as Kevin pointed out earlier this week, the others, even if Asia Wilson goes off, she gets 30, whatever, how can you contain the others around her? Because I believe they had 3 or 4 other players in double figures, which usually does not bode well for the Fever.
Internationally, we're ready to get underway fairly soon here within the next 24 hours for the Ryder Cup, which will be up at Bethpage Black. A lot of controversy about Keegan Bradley being named the team captain for Team USA. What do you think, Kevin? You're the golf guy. What are you thinking about this weekend? Is the Cup coming back to the United States here?
Damn right it is. I cannot wait. It's one of my favorite sporting events of the year, and it is the one time each year that I will spend 72 hours rooting for Bryson DeChambeau.
He can't play golf. He can.
Do you want a Bryson versus Rory singles match to decide it on Sunday?
That would be good TV, would it not?
What about Scotty versus John Rahm? By the way, Mark, did you happen to catch Mrs. Rahm at the opening ceremony?
I did. Oh, I did.
Can see where that live money has been spent.
And when do we get underway? Tomorrow morning, I believe?
Tomorrow, crack it on. Mark, we're going to need the TV on, if you don't mind. 7 a.m. tomorrow morning, ball in the air at Bethpage State Black. Little nervous about that New York crowd. I think you're going to get some very, very chirpy New Yorkers towards the Europeans. So I can't wait. It's the closest thing golf will ever sniff to a real sporting environment, and I am absolutely pumped.
Better than the Waste Management Open in Phoenix every year?
Yes.
Bite your tongue. I love the Waste Management
It's
Open.
a great
That's basically
event.
a frat party where they invite a golf tournament down there.
Nothing like the Ryder Cup.
That is the one golf tournament where like Ashley will actually watch it with me because she loves the 16th hole.
It does look like a rockus.
You should take her on vacation to Phoenix sometime.
We've been there many times. We love that area.
To the Waste Management Open, though.
I would love to. Sign me up. I'll get the beer snake started.
All right. Major League Baseball.
Your jug of beer?
Yeah, the jug of beer. I need Joel to come with us. Joel needs to ride third wheel.
I got a lot of grief about that yesterday when I saw Joel for the first time since the weekend.
Let's talk Major League Baseball. Well, the Cubs did their job last night, Mark. I will say that. They beat up on the New York Mets by a score of 10-3, but neither the Reds or the Diamondbacks could take advantage of it. The Reds did rally in the ninth, trailing 2-1. Tyler Stevenson hit a home run to tie it. And then they gave up a couple of runs in the 11th and in the bottom of the 11th. Kevin, they had the bases loaded. And Novi Marte came up and grounded out double play into the game. 4-2, the Reds lose. But
well, where are you going to go?
Well, they are still just one game behind the Mets. And remember, if they end up tied with the Mets, they have the tiebreaker.
Kevin, you want to chime in there? Your Reds risen from the dead, or are they getting
27% chance
is this
to make
his
the postseason
I'm already
right
dead
now.
impersonation by just not talking?
Mm-hmm. You're starting to feel it a little bit the other day.
No comment from Kevin Bowen this morning.
That was one of the more excruciating losses you'll see. First off, you get Paul Skeens, verb, through the first 6 innings. And then they're like, you know what, 85 pitches, we got to save him. Glorious. You get a freaking inside the park home run. I mean, how many inside the park home runs of all ballparks in that ballpark? And then you get your heart absolutely ripped out there. You get the tease of the Stevenson home run, Great American Ballpark erupts, all of this, and then the extra inning loss with the bases loaded there. In the 11th, the Reds are dead.
This is why I saw a couple of my friends who are diehard Reds fans on Twitter, and they're like, this is why the Reds are the Reds these days.
This is 1,000% why the Reds are the Reds.
And the thing is Marte is the guy who hit the inside the park home run. He's the one that grounded out to end the game.
I'd rather have Jeff Rickard batting than Matt McClain.
Not these days. Also, the Dodgers did beat the Diamondbacks by a score of 5-4. One other baseball note, not only the Mariners beat the Rockies 9-2 to clinch the American League West, but for the first time in history, we have a catcher that has hit 60 home runs. The more I watch this kid, Cal Raleigh, he's special.
What do you think is more satisfying, cracking a home run or like dunking on somebody in basketball?
Homer.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's got to be sweet, especially if it's like a walk-off. Boy, there's nothing like the sound of a perfect crack on the bat.
I mean, the Stevenson reaction last night in the ninth, like, and his emotion right after it. I mean, yes, James, the crack of the bat, the crowd reaction, but yeah, big dumper. He can really swing that bat.
That's your favorite nickname, isn't it?
And Schwarber's at what, 54?
Yeah.
Kyle Schwarber's going to the Hall of Fame.
Are steroids back, or are these guys just like all of a sudden having a great year? Great.
That's the most baseball question ever, but
I mean, I feel like we got a bunch of dudes hitting home runs this year. Is this just kind of out of the blue?
Hey, let's just say I'm not trying to test anybody too soon. I'm enjoying it.
No, Raleigh's at 60, Schwarber's at 56, Judge's at 51.
I mean, when's the last time we've had 3 dudes over 50?
Yeah.
I will say this, though. Baseball continues to be, in a lot of ways, we're going to throw it as hard as we can. It seems like so many guys are plus 98 and above these days, and then you got guys who literally are only up there to try and hit home runs.
Exit velocity, are you saying, is a big deal?
You've got 4 guys 50 home runs or more Raleigh's got 60. Schwarber's 56. Shohei's got 53.
Oh, I forgot about
and Aaron
Shohei.
Judge has 51. Eugenio Suarez, the former Red, is at 48.
Yeah, and
It's got to be years, Mark, since we've had 4 at 50.
Shohei will also randomly strike out 10 of you in an upcoming game, too, by the way. Baseball's had a lot of fun. It'll be afternoon baseball today. Reds hosting the Pirates at 12:40. And, Mark, your Cubs and everybody else's Cubs, 7:40 tonight at home against the New York Mets.
Let's roll.
Yeah. Anything else you guys want to throw in before we move along here?
I think I'm all good.
Awesome weekend of college football. Cannot wait. Again, Indiana touchdown favorites over there in Iowa City. That is a Peacocker Saturday afternoon. And Notre Dame, a slight road favorite in the SEC. That is at Arkansas at noon.
All right. Get your thoughts in right now at 239-1070. You want to get in, now's the time to do it as we have a loaded lineup a little bit later on today. We'll tell you all about that next as we continue at 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
You're listening to the Fan Morning Show on Sports Radio 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Good Thursday morning. Thanks for joining us here at 93.5, 107.5 The Fan. The fan text line is up and running at 239-1070. A lot of people weighing in, and really nice job, Mark, on that tremendous open and tribute to Nancy Leonard at the very top of the show, and I'm guessing we'll hear that again this morning as well.
Thank you. Yes. Nice words from everybody. Thank you very much.
Adam texted in, and I thought this was cool, Kevin. He said, if the Fever ever create a G League team, I suggest we name them the Noblesville Nancies.
Oh, I like that.
Kind of like that right there.
It's got a good little ring to it. Obviously, the boom, has some slick apparel to it. You imagine what that watch party is going to look like tomorrow night up there? Old Slick and Nancy and Jim Morris, and hell,
that might be as much fun as the game.
They can bring Jim Irsay over to watch things tomorrow night, 7:30.
Yeah, I did see the Colts put out a statement as well, which I thought was very classy.
Cambridge Fieldhouse there, and shout out to Miles Turner. He had a multiple tweet acknowledgement of Nancy Leonard and her life, and again that embrace after Game 6. Probably one of the cooler moments, honestly, of that playoff run. So really nice from the former Pacer last night.
And even newcomers, I think it was good for them to really get into the history of the Pacers and what was going on as far as Nancy and Slick is concerned. Maybe you'd heard about them but didn't really know what was going on. Main Stand-Up wrote a nice text this morning, said, it's hard to grasp the fact that the Pacers ever needed to be saved because I'm fortunate enough to see the success they are today. Well, I don't know what the years leading up to the telethon looked like. I'm extremely grateful for Nancy and Slick Leonard's work. I've only been here about 20 months. The Pacers playoff run was some of the best nights of my life. I've been looking for a sports community like this my entire life. I hope to be there when Nancy gets her banner in the rafters. God rest her soul, a true Hoosier icon through and through. I thought that was really cool.
Wow. Yeah, it was very classy.
Yeah, I like that good stuff. So we will be remembering Nancy throughout the show and forever here at 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. In the meantime, I was reading both of you guys' work from yesterday this morning over coffee, as I like to do. The dog and I just hang out and we talk about what you guys have written. And we'll start with you, Kevin. I thought you had something at the very end of your notes column where since the fumble in Denver last year, it's almost hard to wrap your head around how good Jonathan Taylor has been.
Yeah, it's I want to say it's like 858 yards in 6 games. That is easily the most in the NFL through that stretch, and I believe it's the second most of Taylor's career. I mean, if you look at it, I want to say every game but one has been over 100, and he has a 200-yard game, actually a 200-yard game the first game after, dropping the ball on the goal line. So I don't want to maybe build too much into like the, oh my gosh, he's been a changed man since he dropped the ball on the goal line, but it is quite impressive, the 6-game stretch that he's on. And James, I think a huge storyline, to me, the two biggest storylines for Sunday. One, can you disrupt the elite timing of Matthew Stafford? Does your pass rush show up, I guess, to put it simply? And then two, how effective can Jonathan Taylor be across 4 quarters? Because, again, in the second half of the season, he's been otherworldly, and the Rams just did an outstanding job against Saquon Barkley. Barkley had his lowest yards per carry. A little over 2
yards per carry, I think, is
of any game he has been in an Eagles uniform. So that, I think, is a really, really big storyline for Sunday.
Absolutely. And just diving deeper into the numbers, I think one of the things that will stand out to me, Kevin, beyond how many yards JT rushes for potentially, is just how they utilize him. Because as I'm laying out in this piece that I'm looking at right now for The Athletic, what's different about JT this year and what we've seen in the past, even during, like I said, his first-team All-Pro season in 2021 when he won the league not scoring title, rushing title. I'm starting to get my basketball and football mixed up here. But they can't take him off the field. And they didn't say this explicitly in years past, but the Colts felt like he was a liability because they did not play him a lot on third downs. There were times where we saw him get taken out in key moments in the fourth quarter where you're wondering, where is your best player? It's because they didn't trust him to block or to receive in key moments of the game. And I think that has shifted a ton already to the first 3 games of this year. Now, a bigger test is coming, I think, against the Rams. But let's say if he only has 40 rushing yards, who's to say he can't have an impact in the passing game, whether it's receiving or blocking?
James, for the most part, I guess I'm pretty numb to a lot of the news cycle that happens kind of in our coverage of the Colts. I will say yesterday during the press conference, a shiver down the spine of Kevin Bowen, and not due to horrific posture that I've had here. When I heard the A word from Shane Steichen, that was some shiver action. The calf injury for Kenny Moore II, he's now labeling it more in the Achilles injury. Again, nothing torn, but damn, man, I don't know. When I hear calf turn to Achilles, James, oof.
Your mind immediately goes to Tyrese Halliburton. Everyone around here does, at least. Now, granted, Tyrese was playing in his equivalent of a Super Bowl in Game 7 of the NBA Finals, so you have more time for Kenny Moore to heal, but I would not rush this at all. And honestly, I'm a little surprised that they continue to say that IR right now isn't a possibility. I wonder if that shifts in
just sit him for a month,
24 hours.
I mean, he's playing corner, like the quickest, twitchiest position out there.
Well,
any sudden movement at corner, and I'm like, man, you get exposed in a hurry there. I don't.
Here's the thing, too,
and
Kevin.
I don't think you can ignore Kenny's age.
No, he's
we're
29.
Talking about an older corner.
No, 30 actually, just turned 30.
Right. So, I don't know if it's PTSD, but damn, when he said that yesterday, I got one of those.
I'm pretty sure the Colts have been paying attention, too. They're all sports fans over there. They know what's going on. And so I'm sure in the back of their mind, they treat it as the player and an individual, certainly. But they all saw what we saw, too, this past summer.
Well, if they forgot about it, James made sure to bring it up.
Man.
Absolutely. Yeah. I didn't know how to phrase the question, but I was thinking to myself, like, hey, at least around here, man, we hear calf and Achilles. It does not bring back any good memories. It brings back some of the worst memories people have had probably as Pacers fans. And then it wasn't just the conversation around Tyrese. And I wish I would have, had I known, I would have researched this better to find more NFL examples. But the calf to Achilles tear pipeline, at least in the NBA, is very clear. I mean, Lillard dealt with the same thing. Kevin Durant dealt with the same thing, and they ended up rupturing their Achilles. So it is a bit scary, I think, for sure. And to your point about, Kenny plays one of the more twitchy positions in football. Let's just be honest here. You can't do anything without your Achilles. You can't walk. So whatever position he plays, whatever he's trying to do, if he's trying to literally drive, granted it's his left Achilles, but if it was his right, he couldn't be able to do that. So, I'm very curious to see what the injury report looks like tomorrow, and if they err on the side of caution and just say, hey, let's sit you. No, I'm not saying be out. I mean, if they announce tomorrow, like, hey, this guy's going on IR for 4 weeks.
Which is 4 weeks, yeah.
Which I think would be a smart decision.
Yeah, again, sometimes you see teams do that late in the week, like Friday or Saturday. They will put a player on injured reserve to open up a 53-man roster spot. And as you guys said, that's a minimum of a 4-game absence. One thing also to note on just Kenny Moore's availability, because, again, we don't expect him to play on Sunday. Mentioned this a little bit earlier in the week, but when he has missed time, he's missed, I think it's 8 games over the last 3 years. Colts have given up 33 points per game in his absence. That, to me, is a massive number for an individual player. 33 points per game. I mean, I guess I could do the reverse of it. What are the Colts giving up with him in the lineup? I would guess that is at least a 7 to 10 point difference with or without him. And again, Sunday is probably the best, or if not one of the best passing offenses you will see all season long. We know Puka Nacua can live out of the slot and be so dynamic and productive there. So that Kenny Moore, the second loss, just massive here in week 4.
Yeah, I think Nacua is actually leading the league in yards per game. I think like 333 at this point in time. And I'm worried for a lot of different reasons, not just that offense against what could be a banged-up secondary for the Colts, or is a banged-up secondary. You talk about Nacua, you talk about Adams. We've talked about the running game, which is underrated with Kyron Williams there, and a Super Bowl winning head coach and an offensive mastermind. But guys, defensively, do you know the Rams are one of, I think, 3 teams in the NFL that have not given up a rushing touchdown yet this year?
Yeah, the Rams have had some nice moments defensively this year. Again, it's not maybe the Aaron Donald, Von Miller, Jalen Ramsey group that it was a few years ago, but they've really done some nice things on that side of the ball. And again, the availability of Alec Pierce. He did miss yesterday in concussion protocol. I probably should just live in the moment here about what Sunday could mean for Alec Pierce and, A.D. Mitchell possibly having an expanded role. But this might be a massive game for the future of those two in a Colts uniform. You know, Alec Pierce has not missed a lot of time in his NFL career. Honestly, I think maybe the concussions are the only time he's missed. I don't know, maybe there's been one other injury. But what I'm getting at is, let's say Pierce doesn't miss a lot of time this season. There won't be many opportunities necessarily for A.D. Mitchell to then take those snaps and try to do something with them. If A.D. Mitchell goes out and has a really good game on Sunday, then at the end of the year, as the Colts start to weigh money and think to themselves, okay, Quentin Nelson extension, okay, Alec Pierce contract year. Oh, yeah, how much money are we going to pay Daniel Jones? Like, if all of that is at play here, an A.D. Mitchell emerging and letting Alec Pierce walk is going to be a debate that they will have to have. So, again, I probably should just live in the present of Sunday's football game, but I do think there could be some longer-term ramifications off of, hey, we have to pass the torch somewhere, and we might be paying a quarterback money that maybe we didn't see here in 2026. So that's another little storyline to Sunday.
Your piece in The Athletic this morning, James, focused a lot, and you mentioned it yesterday, kind of teased it a little bit, that Daniel Jones, you can't get him off his iPad. If he's not practicing and if he's not talking about things, you can't get him out of the film room in whatever version, modern-day version
Sounds
of the
like
film
one of my
room
kids on a
there
road
is.
trip. You can't get him out of the iPad.
I'll tell you what, if
We'll
Max
put Daniel
Bone
Jones
is,
in the back where the TV screen is.
I was going to say,
right?
if Max Bone is breaking down game film, let me buy some stock early, you know. But, yeah, it was a fun piece that went out there yesterday morning. And honestly, Jeff, the biggest thing, at least from a writer perspective, is finding those little nuggets, obviously, that kind of reveal how obsessive he is, you know, being late for team dinner. And, you know, we had JT on our airwaves on Monday saying, hey, stop me in the breakfast line, saying, hey, make sure you remember this play. But beyond that, all the comments on the story, which I was kind of surprised to see, are from Giants fans saying, you know, what the heck? Basically, you know, yesterday they officially announced they're benching Russell Wilson in favor of Jackson Dart. And this fan base feels like, wait, for the longest time, you told us it was Daniel Jones and his fault. And now he's left this franchise, and for the second straight year, we have a player that was a star here, or we wanted them to be a star here. Saquon Barkley was a flat-out star in New York, whereas Daniel Jones had like one good year. But still, back-to-back years, those guys leave, and they're having career years.
Thriving.
So why is that the case? And so I think that is something that, you know, Daniel Jones will probably never speak on. But to have this amount of success early on, now he has to sustain it, obviously, but that has to feel good somewhere inside of him, knowing that, you know, from what I've heard from, you know, talking to people who cover the Giants during the first 6 years of his tenure with that team, the biggest scapegoat there was always Daniel Jones. And now that scapegoat can't be used anymore.
I thought one of the best tweets I've seen here as we get deeper into the year of 2025 came on Sunday during the Colts game, and it was Daniel Jones on the Giants, he's going to get Brian Daboll fired. Daniel Jones on the Colts, he's going to get Brian Daboll fired.
Well, everybody has a mission in life, Kevin.
I'm like, that is excellent, excellent work. Whoever I should give credit to. But yes, I would say Giants fans are a bit confused and a bit pissed off by the whole operation. Jackson Dart time, did I see that yesterday?
Yeah, and they're facing the Chargers this week, I believe, and the Chargers are one of the better teams in the NFL right now when it comes to pass defense, and so I would expect him to struggle, and I think that's actually going to go very poorly for them.
I think they maybe should have. I know they didn't want to watch Russell Wilson anymore. They probably should have waited till next week when they're playing the Saints.
I thought about that too, but man, you talk about getting thrown to the fire, and that market they're not going to be light on you if you go out there and stink.
Well.
So, yeah, I read a story yesterday where they were saying when Brian Daboll drafted Jackson Dart, he told him, hey, I'm banking on you. And I would imagine he probably said the same thing to Daniel Jones years ago, and it just hasn't worked out. So good luck with that. I would want to marry my future to Jackson Dart.
Cardinals, Seahawks tonight, Thursday Night Football. Could you guys name 3 Seahawks?
First of all, you start with Sam Darnold.
Is it Smith and Jigba?
Yeah, that's the wide receiver.
I don't think I
Kenneth
can name
Walker
Kenneth Walker the third.
I don't think I can name any more.
And then my
Zach
boy
Charbonnet.
Devon Witherspoon from Illinois.
Will Dissly, is he still there?
You guys are degenerates over there.
Ain't no degenerates. I'm a professional. This is my job.
Mark and I have
James
daily
can
meetings.
name more Seahawks than Fighting Illini.
Again, for a good reason. I ain't learning their names for the rest of eternity. All those guys are bums as far as I'm concerned.
Cooper Kupp.
Is he doing anything? Cooper Kupp?
He's all right.
He's
Smith
contributing.
and Jigba's doing a lot, right?
Yes, he's a stud. He has been a stud.
Yeah, don't doubt my football knowledge, man. As I sit here with Google open, I can show you I'm not cheating. I promise.
Yeah. One other note going back to the Giants and Dable and Daniel Jones, quote resurfaced after a game from November of last year of Malik Neighbors asking what the problem is. And that was right after I think they jettisoned Daniel Jones, and he was very defiant with reporters, and he basically said, it ain't the quarterback. Same outcome when we had DJ at quarterback. Take a look. It ain't the quarterback. When asked what he thought the problem was, Neighbors said, don't know. Everybody know better than me. But he
I remember that because he was smacking on his gum so loud in that interview, Kevin, and I could just feel with every smack of the gum how irritated he was with the state of the Giants last year. That was something special.
And then Drew Lock came in and saved the day.
Oh, Lord. Colts fans, how much has changed in a year, because that was nuts.
Kevin has offered us Achilles talk and that today.
I don't want to talk Achilles. Shane Steichen, the most transparent he's ever been about a player's injury, James Boyd, was yesterday with Kenny Moore II. I mean that in all seriousness.
Absolutely. Yeah.
He literally told us it was a different body part, and it was the body part you don't want to hear at all. And for those that were watching the game, Amanda Balionis, a sideline reporter for CBS, she did describe it pretty vividly of like Kenny is, I think kind of like she was saying, rubbing the back of that left leg in that Achilles area, looked over at his family, kind of went thumbs down again. In a boot. He was at practice yesterday, so we will await and see any status update. But Shane Steichen, once again yesterday, said that injured reserve is not currently being discussed.
Yeah, and again, I don't want to belabor it, but it just feels like they're going to be leaning on that offense a lot this week because they may have to win a shootout this week. And one of the things, the other thing that I really liked about your notes column too, you pointing out just how much better Jonathan Taylor has been in the second half. For all these great games that he's had, he gets the work done in the second half.
Yeah, it's 5 yards per carry more in the second half than the first half, which is just beyond eye-popping. And I think that's what kind of makes the run game debate difficult. Somebody reached out to me yesterday. I was like, I think the Colts should throw more. Well, I can hear you out. The question with Taylor, though, is are you setting up the big run in the second half via the body blows in the first half? And I think that's one of the tougher debates for a play caller in the NFL. Are you doing the, hey, we need to commit in the first half to X amount of carries because we think in the third or fourth quarter that carry could turn into the big play? Is the Denver defender that whiffed on Jonathan Taylor in the backfield in week 2, is that because you wore them down in the first half? And now all of a sudden that play is possible. How many missed tackles did Tennessee have on Taylor's 46-yard touchdown run?
A few.
4? 5?
I counted 4.
Does that happen in the first quarter? Or are you setting that up? Because at that point of the game, Taylor had really done nothing of note. 12 carries, 40-some yards. So,
but that's also, again, they don't have to take him off the field either, which is why I feel like since he's not a liability in the pass blocking and pass catching anymore, at least early on, small sample size.
He did have one drop on Sunday.
But but again, I'll take that over, in addition to also having the 43-yard reception he had in week 2 or whatever. But, Kevin, I think to piggyback off your point, the ability to stay out there no matter what allows you to break a team's will or break them down later, and that's what we're seeing from JT.
I also think when you look at that wide array of receivers that the Colts now have, from Pittman to, I know he's hurt right now, but Alec Pierce to Downs, and then you got Tyler Warren there. You better pay attention to 28 back there coming out of the backfield too, because if he gets the ball in space, it's over.
It's a different type of dude, man.
This from John. I'm really trying to soak it all in. That said, is Daniel Jones going to be like Ryan Tannehill to the Titans? The Titans had a good season or two and then fell off. John adds this. I think I need to be told I'm crazy and just enjoy it. John, enjoy it for now. Yeah. We'll worry about the big picture later.
Here's the one thing I will say, and I've always thought this about Ryan Tannehill. Remember, he was a wide receiver in college, guys. He's not a guy that was the quarterback his entire life, but he had such a great skill set and a way about him that in college he started to learn to play quarterback. And I just wonder at this level if there isn't a part of you, and we look at Anthony Richardson, you need to have been playing quarterback almost from the time you were 10, 12 years old, and understanding defenses, understanding what you're doing, building that timing, building that look, building all those things. And I know Tannehill had some success as a quarterback, but I always thought maybe that was something that maybe at this level held him back from being elite.
Weren't the Titans the 1 seed one year with Tannehill?
Yeah, honestly, I
That's
feel
when
like the Colts would
yeah.
love that.
Was Vrabel the head coach?
I think it was Vrabel, yeah.
And then we all see how that's
Derrick
working
Henry's
out.
Jonathan Taylor, right?
Yeah.
Maybe it is a little bit more like-minded.
All right, coming up in a moment, we'll talk a little bit more about Nancy Leonard, her life, and also the Fever coming up with a big playoff game tomorrow night at the Fieldhouse. It comes your way with Eddie White next, 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
I saved the best for last. The most important thing to me, you know, when I was at IU in the fall of 1950, I met my wife, Nancy.
The woman that many people would say saved the Indiana Pacers franchise.
The first lady of the Pacers, the great Nancy Leonard.
They said, we're running out of money. We don't have enough money to pay the salaries of the players. For some reason, I said, we just need some kind of exciting activity for the fans, like a telethon.
As of 12:25, we've got an hour and 50 minutes to go.
Bob, we're at 8,028.
If the Pacers don't survive, do we get the Colts in 1984? Does the amateur sports initiative really take hold as it did in the early 80s? I think that was really a major component to Indianapolis being able to build itself not only as a great town, but a great sports town.
They helped resurrect the team from almost going into some sort of financial default.
There were like 8 or 10 owners of the Pacers at that time. They felt they needed a general manager. Pretty soon I just said, there are so many people that are qualified to be a general manager. And I said, but I do feel the teams that seem to really have it all together have somebody that have had some involvement in the sport. And it was dead silence, and I thought, oh my God, what have I said? And one of the owners said, well then, if you know all that, why don't you do it? And Bob, you know what he said? He looked at me and he said, she can do it. And they said, okay, that's it.
She took over and she did everything inside, all the paper, everything had to come through Nancy.
Have Nancy watch the U.S. Open and how these golfers walk out and tell her to pick a favorite.
That's easy. You just go and watch all the golfers, and when you see the guy with the cutest legs, you pick him.
My biggest accomplishment was not that telethon. Do you know that I started the pace mates in the basement of my house?
One night we were down there, my little 2-year-old, who is Tommy, I saw this blonde head look around the corner of the stairs. It was Tommy watching those girls.
What would it have meant to him to see a championship?
I look up in the stands at the games, and I think, oh my gosh, Bob, you brought this to Indianapolis. It's hard. It's been such a wonderful ride.
The voice of Nancy Leonard, who passed away, left us at the age of 93 yesterday. And if you want to go back and listen to some of the show for both Jake Query from noon to 3 and JMV in the afternoon yesterday, so many tremendous voices on, so many people remembering Nancy and Slick both, and just the effect that they have had on this city. We talked about it a little bit about an hour ago. If you're just joining us, good morning and welcome to the program. We learned at the very end of our show yesterday that Nancy Leonard had passed away and didn't have a true opportunity to really talk about what she had meant to all this city and all of us individually and all of those things. And one of the people I did want to talk to today who's seen a lot of this growth and transformation for Indianapolis as a sports city over the years and also seen it from inside that Pacers organization is Eddie White, who can always hear on the world's greatest postgame show after each and every Pacers game. Also did a show here with Bob Kravitz at the very beginning of the fan startup. And he joins us now on the Payless Liquors hotline. Good morning, Eddie White. I know it's a somber day over there at the field house today, and I hope you're doing okay, but thanks for joining us. I appreciate it.
Good morning. I was, honest to God, I was good and looking forward to talking to you guys until you guys played that intro. You know me, I'm never freaking speechless. That was beautiful. That was absolutely beautiful. And that lady was a lot of things, and that was absolutely beautiful, your intro. That was lovely.
Eddie, I wanted to bring you on because you, at the heart of what you do, you're a marketer. You fly the flag of the Pacers everywhere in this city all the time. You've seen what it's looked like in its growth from the 90s up until now, and you obviously had a relationship with both Nancy and Slick. And we've all talked about the things that we know about, the telethons and all the things that Nancy was talking about there in that tremendous open. I'm going to ask you the same thing I just asked Kevin and James. Like, when you hear the words or the name Nancy Leonard, what are the things that hit you most?
Wow, there's a lot of things. Because there's the sweetest, kindest person that you'd ever want to meet. Lady that when my wife would take some of the stuff out of her garden and we'd take it over to Nancy and drop it off for her, with that we gave her gold. And then there's the history of this lady. Let me tell you a story. And I haven't told so many people, but when she was very young, back up in South Bend, her dad was involved in a lot of businesses and stuff like that. And there was baseball teams would come through South Bend and play, and these guys would play other sports and to make money. And one time this team came through, and there was this player for the other team. He was African American, and the hotel in South Bend wouldn't let him stay there. So Nancy's dad said, you know what, he'll stay with us. And this gentleman stayed there and played like the weekend series or whatever, because they just made a couple of bucks. And every night he had dinner with the family, and they listened to records, she said. And that African-American gentleman was Jesse Owens. And if you know the history, and you think if this lady who just left us in her 90s, back then was probably in her teens or 9 or 10, the love and the respect for people, the kindness, the kind soul, being just a good person was nurtured in that home that she took when she was in Bloomington meeting Slick and in Terre Haute and Kokomo and, of course, in Indianapolis and Carmel. And she kept that love, whether it was in her house for her children and her grandchildren or for her franchise or her boys, which was her Pacers. I mean, she loved Nedelicki. She loved Big Mac. She loved Roger, Darnell. That was her family. And then those of us who met her later, the Mark Boyles and whatever, we were all adopted into it. And you heard whether it was Bill Benner, who's the greatest story in our city, and other people. If she doesn't have the idea to have the telethon, and then in true Hoosier spirit, we see it today, whether we put on the best WNBA or NBA All-Star game or Super Bowl, but even back then, that Hoosier spirit was alive. She had the idea, and then the people here executed it to put on the freaking telethon to save the team. Because they don't save the team, the Colts don't come here. The NCAA doesn't come here. There's the fan. You guys aren't here. Downtown ain't here. There's a lot of stuff that ain't here. That one lady, she created the Pacemates. I love that. We all love the Pacemates. But if she doesn't have that idea, we ain't here. And that needs to be celebrated, and that never, ever needs to be forgotten. Because we've got a lot of youngsters, a lot of kids in their 20s and 30s, think they know everything. They don't know crapola. Because if you don't know Nancy Leonard, and you don't know what she meant to this city, you don't know crapola. She needs her flowers. She's always had her flowers. I love that lady, and I miss that lady.
Yeah, you could watch the documentary PBS, Save the Pacers. The telethon is obviously a big part of that, and I think it's a great education, honestly, for anyone out there, and certainly something that I've watched. Eddie, thank you for the time here on this Thursday morning. I was also kind of struck by this yesterday and just reading more. Obviously, again, everything you just laid out about what she's meant to our city speaks for itself. I didn't really realize this. So she was one of the big spearheaders of the 3-point line back in the ABA days. Did you know anything about that?
She had a lot of crazy ideas. I mean, a lot of stuff. I mean, they were the perfect couple. They really were. And I think that's one of the blessings in life. If you're lucky to get that one person who really understands you, it's not a relative, not somebody by blood, but somebody, you pick them, they pick you. I mean, she was perfect for him because he was a freaking handful. He was a handful. And she adored him, and he adored her, and that's what it's all about. But, yeah, she always had great – up to the last minute. I mean, she wasn't good the last couple of years, especially this past year where we didn't see her a lot during the regular season, and then she showed up for the postseason. In fact, sometimes you rather get lucky than good. When I do that around the house thing for Pat Boylan on Pacers Weekly, the last interview she ever did was the thing she did for us for Around the House. And her memory was, she just wishes Bob, she called him Bob, wishes Bob was here to see this because, she thought he knew he'd love this team the way it played. But to answer your question, she was behind a lot. I mean, she is the one that created the Pacemates. Nobody had dancing teams at professional basketball games. That's why the Pacemates are the longest running dance team in the NBA, because she invented it in the ABA days. was a remarkable lady. I mean, to live that long and to have that great a life, both personally and professionally, God bless her. She's the greatest.
Eddie, throughout this most recent Pacers finals run, I think I saw you probably every day. It felt like for like 2 months. But when you see the players, the current players, those who were born way after the telethon and way after Nancy was like this everyday figure for the franchise, when you see those guys show the respect towards her with Miles Turner after reaching the finals again, going over to hug her, Tyrese Halliburton yesterday sharing some of his moments with her after going to the finals, what does that mean to this franchise to have that sort of love for the matriarch?
Well, you three guys are over there covering that team. I've seen you guys, especially you, James. You're in there. You're at the practices. You're covering. You're talking to people. You know the answer to that question, and it's a great question. And it's a great answer. It's that culture that has been built inside, and not only just inside the building. And Kevin Pritchard, those people get a lot of credit for that, but also the way these guys grew up and their respect for whether it's their dad, their mom, whoever brought them up into the world. I think they get it. And you and I both know. Hell, it was. I didn't get it till late life. I was an idiot. I mean, some of us get it early, some of us get it late, some of us never get it. I think these guys get it. And when you see, like you said it. I mean, you saw it when Miles did that. And Tyrese, and it's not just the guys who've been here, like Reggie Miller, been here a long time. And it's like they seem they're here almost immediately, and they're struck by they talk. And they're like, hey, man, that lady, and she just, it doesn't matter. I mean, you talk to anybody, and when you leave, like Michael Grady's now the enemy, right? He's with Minnesota. He comes back. She can't wait to see him and hug him. They go, oh, Michael, Bob loved you. And, I mean, it's like, it doesn't matter. You may no longer be with the Pacers, but in her eyes, you're a Pacer for life, and there's something special about that. But that was a great pickup on you. You're right. You're absolutely right, because you don't listen. You cover a lot of other things. You've been around the league. That's not the norm in the world of sports. That kids that young get that respect that quick. It doesn't happen everywhere. That's another thing we should cherish living here.
Eddie, I wanted to relay this from a listener. I thought it was an excellent, excellent idea, and you've got more clout over the. I mean, hell, you might as well be a Simon with how much clout you've got. This from listener Jeffrey: needs to be a statue of Nancy and Slick. But what I love the most about this is the specific description of said statue. Jeffrey says, arm in arm, waving to all attendees who come into the Fieldhouse lobby. I love that idea. Can you make that happen?
Well, I know there's been talk about statues and stuff for Reggie Miller and other people, and I really don't know where that goes. But again, it's talked about all the time, and I'm sure it'll come up again. I have always maintained when I run for mayor, I know Jake wants to run for mayor, and he has his initiatives. Mine is going to be what is now Georgia Street should be called the Avenue of Champions, and we would have plaques and in some cases statues of all the great sports entities that we've ever had in the state of Indiana. Now think about that, because we have the National Firefighters, we have national conventions, we have worldwide events. Why wouldn't we have a cavalcade, an avenue, a channel, whatever, of whether there's a Rockney plaque, or there's a thing about Notre Dame's Heisman Trophy winners, or a Bob Knight thing, or the greatness of Purdue women's basketball, and whatever. High school basketball, tribute to Milan, the Pacers, the Colts, Peyton, auto racing, the bicyclists, all that stuff, all is along Georgia Street with plaques and statues. And it's like, that's what you have to go see when you go to Indianapolis, and you'll know more of their sports history. And then we just keep adding to it, and that's my idea, and I think we should do that as I run for mayor.
Can you imagine a mayor debate between Eddie White and Jake Query? Oh my gosh! If you guys thought the telethon was long, can you imagine? We might have to block off a whole week.
About 6 hours there.
Dear Lord!
And it would be a filibuster, and you wouldn't need a moderator.
Oh my gosh! Hell no, you wouldn't. The moderator would get in 2 words.
Good luck to the reporter trying to distill a few sound bites down to recap the thing. Eddie, you're the best, man. I know you got a big event coming up tomorrow night. That place will be popping as the Fever bring the playoffs back to the Fieldhouse there.
Absolutely. Can't wait. I mean, how special has this year been? NBA Finals, WNBA All-Star Game, and potentially WNBA Finals. It's fantastic. Colts doing so well. Notre Dame finally won a game, Kevin, thank God. Defense stinks. But hey, maybe the Bengals lose another game, we get Al Golden back.
On that note, Eddie, have a great day, buddy. I'll see you soon.
Go Pacers, go Fever, go Irish.
There you go. You know, he's going down that long list of things that have happened in the city just this year, and we didn't even get to the annual NCAA tournament games that get played here. But what about the Olympic trials, which I still think was just an electric event over at the Lucas Oil Stadium, Kevin. Man, this city just rocks when sports, man.
Absolutely. I think the point Eddie was trying to make is, more so like it's like the event with the Olympic swimming trials, which is awesome, by the way. That is something that the city kind of advocated for. The runs we've seen from these teams is just something that's a little bit different because it's us. You know what I mean? And we don't have to lobby for that. We kind of just have to fight for it. And so,
but it's all of those things. I mean, I say this all the time as somebody who's lived at different parts of this country and worked at networks and coming. This is day in, day out, and doesn't always mean a championship. But this is the greatest sports city in America. Final Fours, championship games, conference championship games, NCAA tournament games when there's not a Final Four, Olympic swim trials, not to mention the homegrown Pacers, Colts, now the Fever, Big Ten basketball and football. And look, don't even get me started on the Indianapolis 500 and what we do there. You bring the Brickyard 400. There's just something different about sports here. Combine, you name it. Super Bowls have been here. This is as good as any city in America, James.
I know we've gotten a couple questions about it, and it's Mark Dykton's best work, and I don't say that lightly. The intro honoring Nancy Leonard is just excellent. If you haven't heard it yet, Mark, you need to splice that out on the podcast, so please do that.
Will do.
And we'll
Thank you.
Certainly direct attention towards that because it's been tremendous to lead off the show, lead off that 8 o'clock hour. If you've missed it, tremendous from Mark there on the Nancy Leonard tribute to start each hour.
All right. Having said that, let's check it down. Tell you what's happening right here, right now.
The Morning Checkdown on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
I always get myself all fired up there, Mark, when I'm talking about the sports scene here.
Yeah, you get very excited. Need to calm you down, give you a tranquilizer.
I believe John has a word for that.
Well, sometimes people need a little extra help in that department these days.
All right. Colts and Rams, big NFL game coming up on Sunday afternoon, 4:05. Colts trying to remain undefeated. I know the Rams came up just short against the Philadelphia Eagles, but Kevin Bowen, the Rams are no joke. They're as good as any team in the NFL. This will be a great test.
Yeah, can't wait. It's going to be an awesome test. Colts about 3.5-point underdog, and they have, really ace certainly weeks 1 and 3, and got that one in week 2. A little bit of help. They have been dominant in those games against Miami and Tennessee, and now it's a great different challenge against a quarterback that James Boyd, I didn't think Shane Steichen was hiding his Matthew Stafford praise at all yesterday. He was gushing about Stafford, the toughness of Matthew Stafford, and I think it's just an awesome barometer waiting for the Colts here coming up at Sunday.
Absolutely. I would concur with Shane Steichen. I think Matthew Stafford is one of the best quarterbacks ever. I'm not sure if he's a Hall of Famer because the individual accolades, the counting stats aren't there. You know how the Hall of Fame is, though.
He's a Hall of Famer.
I agree with you, but you know how the Hall of Fame is with the NFL. Ain't the NBA where they just let everybody in the Basketball Hall of Fame. But neither here nor there. He is still, to this day, I think, a arguably top 5 quarterback in the game and someone who will certainly give the Colts fits if they aren't able to get pressure on him.
Well, they're going to struggle maybe in the secondary as well. Not only
which is why you got to get pressure on him.
Not only do the Rams have guys like Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams and Matthew Stafford slinging it, but injury concerns starting to mount up in that secondary now.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we had a chance to talk to Mike Hilton yesterday, newly acquired, newly signed. It sounds like he's a guy who's going to play Sunday, Kevin. I know you were all about that. We were talking to him yesterday, and I was making a joke with him, like, man, they already got you all the, Colts gear and Colts shoes and everything else. I'm like, Right now, only thing left on the checklist is literally playing time, which Kenny Moore in a boot, Mike Hilton, his rapport with Lou Anarumo from the past, he likes to plug and play his guys, and so I expect him to play at least a fair amount of snaps come Sunday.
All right, also yesterday, the Colts running back Jonathan Taylor, back-to-back winner of the AFC Player of the Week, something that has never happened, Kevin Bowman, as you had pointed out, in the history of Peyton Manning and the great running backs that have come through here and the unbelievable wide receivers and some of the unbelievable talent that's been here. That's never happened before.
I can't wait for you all to read this story that I'm putting out because I think you said it before I kind of really realized it, Kevin. JT really is charting a Hall of Fame career through 6 years. It is unbelievable. The numbers that he's putting up are nuts from all aspects. I mean, the guy is the truth.
Yes, he is Canton, Ohio bound. 1,000%. I don't think there's any debate.
Got to stay healthy.
Let's talk some college football. A judge on Wednesday ruled in favor of Indiana starting safety Lewis Moore, granting eligibility to the 24-year-old defensive leader, allowing him to continue playing this season for the Hoosiers. He filed a lawsuit in early August challenging the NCAA's 5-year eligibility rule, arguing his 3 years at Navarro Junior College in Texas should not count against his eligibility. According to the court document filed, Judge Dale Tillery ruled that the NCAA's eligibility rule violated the Texas Antitrust Act. So good news for the Hoosiers there.
And bad news for me, because I feel like after you obliterate my line out of the way you did, you can sit down for the rest of the year. You don't have to keep playing. But, I'm never going to be team NCAA. I feel like that's a rare stance for me. So, if they lose a battle in court, I'm not going to be crying for them at all.
And Kurt Cignetti has been critical of the safety play at times this season, so I think that is a big storyline. I don't know if Iowa necessarily will test you in that area coming up on Saturday, but certainly Oregon and Penn State down the road. But again, awesome weekend for college football. Great slate. Iowa is without their starting running back. Shout out to Trevor Lauk, the big left tackle there, and the great family on the south side. Iowa's offensive line. Can Indiana's D-line do what they did at Illinois? I thought that was a different. Well, when it's 63-10, there are many differences in the game.
What you mean?
But that
you
was
take your pick.
In the trenches. Can Indiana do that again? Because if they are legit in the trenches, then I think we talk about this Indiana team in a different light as one of the legit top 5-ish teams in college football.
And Notre Dame plays on the road at SEC Arkansas. That's a noon kick, Kevin. Are you going to be okay for that? You going to go to the jug of beer before noon on that one?
I think Rosie's got a soccer game at noon.
I need to get a shirt patent that says jug of beer.
The jug of beer will have to wait. Maybe Joel A. Erickson. Maybe I'll meet Joel at the airport before he flies out. We can have a jug of beer.
I'm sorry.
To say my team is so bad, I need a jug of beer.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, Major League Baseball. The Reds had their chances last night, KB. The Mets losing to the Chicago Cubs. That came a little bit later, so I didn't know it at the time. But Paul Skeens on the mound for the Pirates. The Reds survived that. They tied it up in the ninth on a Tyler Stevenson home run. That followed an earlier inside the park home run by Noelvi Marte. And then in the 12th inning, or the 11th inning, with the bases loaded, Marte came up again and grounded out to end the game, and the Pirates win it by a score of 4-3. And they remain one game behind the Mets, who were defeated by the Cubs 10-3 a little bit later on.
A month ago, I said the Reds were dead, and I said I don't want to be hurt again. I know how this is going to go. I've been here. I've done that. The girl is the ultimate tease at the bar, and last night's game was the poster child of that. You get an inside-the-park home run to get back in the game. Who the hell has inside-the-park home runs in that small little ballpark? Bases loaded in the 11th.
Marte, that's who.
Weak grounder to third. Reds are dead.
Man, I feel like if things don't go well this weekend, Mark, Kevin might just ignore me for weeks.
Well, I mean, you've resurrected them from the dead. He's tried to bury them, so you guys are kind of like the Step Brothers. You're like Dale and what's the other guy's name from Step Brothers?
Yeah, I can.
Are you burying me?
I can picture the other guy. Jeff, the man that couldn't name a red a month ago, now all of a sudden to resurrect the Red season.
Need you guys to stay away from each other's drum sets, though.
Unbelievable.
It's amazing. I watched all those games the last couple of years. Couldn't remember anybody. That's how that works. Also, I want to point it out again because it's just insane. I've been watching baseball my entire life. 2 home runs for Cal Raleigh last night as the Mariners clinched the American League West. 60 home runs for a catcher. And as Kevin points out, maybe the greatest nickname in modern baseball.
Big Dumper. Grande Dumper.
That is quite the name. I feel like my mom would just be disgusted if I ever had that nickname. But Mama, I would tell her I was a baller.
Fever play tomorrow night at home at the Fieldhouse. It's Game 3 of their semifinal best-of-5 series with the Las Vegas Aces. They got the split in Las Vegas earlier this week. They'll try to protect now their home court advantage that they've stolen away, JB.
Yeah, I mean, this is a huge game tomorrow. I mean, it's a very obvious statement. But beyond that, I think, did you get a little more rest by having a couple days off? You're back in your home arena. Will your role players play a little bit better? And can you get their role players, which, I mean, the Aces have a bunch of Hall of Famers on their side, but can you get the others to kind of drop a level? Even if Asia Wilson gets hers, I think we're all in agreement here. Hey, if she scores 30, that's fine. It's the rest of them. You can't let Nalissa Smith have a career high in points. You have to make sure Jewel Lloyd sees a few different bodies there, doesn't have a good homecoming to the state of Indiana, the former Notre Dame star. So things like that I think are huge. And even like a player like Dana Evans, good player, but you can't have her let her have a performance like she did in Game 2.
Do your role players travel on the road in playoffs? I think that's always a huge storyline.
Yep.
And for the Pacers, Odyssey Sims. Yesterday I called her Lance
Fever.
Stevenson.
Yeah.
Sorry for the Fever. You need good Lance. You need good Odyssey Sims coming up here tomorrow night. But yeah, it should be hell of an environment. I thought I saw 4-ish point underdog for the Fever in this one. And then again, Sunday game 4, 3 o'clock inside of Gamebridge.
Yeah.
All right.
And also, real quick, Kelsey Mitchell, we expect her to bounce back, right? She's a star. That's what stars do. They don't have 2 bad games in a row, so I expect her to be on her P's and Q's very, very much so tomorrow night.
We'll get the latest on injuries and insight with Scott Agnes as the Fever play tomorrow night, 7:30 tip. Airtime with Eddie Garrison and the Fan pregame show at 7:15. We'll do it in a moment on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
You're listening to the Fan Morning Show on Sports Radio 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Hope your Thursday morning's going well. If you're just joining us, the entire show really done in memory and honor of Nancy Leonard today, passing away yesterday at the age of 93. And we've been talking about that all morning and all day yesterday. And in addition to all the other great things that are going on in the sports world, one other quick baseball note that I wanted to point out that I kind of didn't have time a minute ago. Kevin, we've been talking about Indiana and Indiana people all day long. Kyle Schwarber hit his 55th and 56th yesterday for the Phillies, by the way. That's a heck of a baseball year.
Legend.
Man, oh
unbelievable.
Man. So that sports report brought to you by Bet365. When it comes to sportsbooks, Bet365 has it all. Download the app today and see why it's never ordinary at Bet365. Talking about Pacers, Fever, Nancy Leonard all day long. We'll continue that theme. Our next guest, heavily involved in covering both the Pacers and the Fever. Of course, Scott Agnes with the Fieldhouse Files joining us now on the Payless Liquors hotline. Good Thursday morning, Scott Agnes. I know, like you and the rest of us, a bittersweet day, a lot of heavy heart for Nancy Leonard, for you and everybody else that has ever covered that team.
Yeah, good morning, guys. You're totally right there. I mean, she was so kind, so witty, so loyal, and just a omnipresent person around Gainbridge Fieldhouse. That's why it was so notable last season, why she was away and not there for so often. But I'm just so thrilled that she was able to be there and enjoy that playoff run all the way back to the NBA Finals. She was able to take part in that Game 6 against the Knicks, and just to see the Pacers pour love into her after the win and to celebrate and the hugs and just all that different stuff. But this is a giant of a loss, obviously, for the Pacers in this city.
Scott, you were there firsthand, like many of us were, when we saw Miles Turner after the Pacers punched tickets to the finals go over to hug Nancy Leonard. We saw several players do that throughout that run and kind of give her that opportunity and that shine. And so when you see the current players and also past players and everyone sort of look at her as a matriarch, what do you think that says about what she meant to this franchise beyond what her legacy meant alongside Slick Leonard, but just as her standalone icon that she is?
Yeah, and there's so many different elements to it, right? It's from one standpoint, it's the wife of Slick, but then it's also being the assistant GM, and then it's really also just being the connector. I mean, she's hosting dinner parties for so many different people. She got so many Pacers set up. She was a real estate agent. She used to get many Pacers set up with their house and to just be comfortable. Like we saw even Miles Turner tweet say, when I got here to Indianapolis, she was one of the first people that kind of made this feel like a home to me. And I just can't say how many times she was just someone that you loved to be around, that made you smile, that always made you feel welcome. And with this Pacers organization in particular, I mean, especially years ago, Stats Crew, Ball Boys, all those different people would hang out, whether at the Leonard's house or at the player's house. It was just a whole different world back then, and how connected all these individuals were, and it all revolved around Nancy and Slick.
It's got to be quite the watch party tomorrow upstairs, if you will, I'm sure, for Nancy and Slick and many others there. Jim Morris watching the Fever play a big-time game. Game 3 of the of the WNBA semifinals game, just best of 5, so this one carries a ton of weight. You were out there in Vegas for games 1 and 2. If I removed Asia Wilson, Scott, and if I remove Kelsey Mitchell from the storylines, what do you think is the biggest one for tomorrow night?
I think it's got to be the physicality, just overall, of both this series and the way in which this league is officiated. I thought it was notable, KB, after the game, you have Stephanie White come in there and said, hey, they were calling everything. We couldn't find any rhythm or flow because it was just whistle after whistle. And then immediately after that, you have Becky Hammond come in and go, what are we doing with this physicality? I mean, wide receivers aren't allowed this much contact after that 5 yards. Like, what are we doing here? And so just two To me, it's the physicality, it's the fouls, it's the way in which the game is official. It's something that the whole league needs to get cleaned up. Now, with these two teams in particular, I'd probably go down to Lexi Hall and her availability and how impactful she's able to be. Like I thought it was remarkable how she was able to knock down those 5 threes given how she was feeling, because you could see it shoot around. And I even asked her, I was like, hey, how's the body doing right now? And she smiled, trying not to give away too much, but was basically like, yeah, we're going through it, but everybody's going through it, and we'll see. And so I think oftentimes when players are going through an injury like that, sometimes maybe like a shot is better because they're not thinking about that part of it. They're not overthinking or whatever, and that led to her having a good shooting night from outside.
What's this game look like if it goes well for the Fever? Like, what's the flow, the pace? What happens?
Yeah, I think early on it's them probably having the lead after the first quarter, like they did in the first 4 games in the postseason. It's dictating pace. The fact that they didn't have any fast break points at halftime and just 4 for the game, Jeff, that's unacceptable. That's not going to win them games just because of how much they, and just like the Pacers, are predicated on getting stops, on getting out on the run and getting the defense struggling there. I think it's having a couple other players in double figures, whether, outside of the obvious ones. I think that's important. And then the other thing is I didn't mind Asia Wilson having 25 points. To me, it was the others. It was having the Aces have 2 bench players in double figures, for example. That was concerning. And then I think the other point here is it's got to be at least 25 points probably for Kelsey Mitchell. She doesn't have to go for 40, but she has to hold you up on the high end there with 25 to 30 points to have a chance.
Well, I'll tell you what, Scott, she didn't have to go for 40, but I wouldn't mind seeing it. I believe that would be a Fever postseason record. Last one from me, not a very serious question, but what are we thinking for tomorrow? You going suit and tie again? I just want to make sure that when I walk by, I don't, I make
James
sure.
gave you a lot of love.
Yeah. I just want to make sure when I walk by, I keep my distance from him to make sure people don't think that I'm like his security or something. Because Scott, you were very dapper last week. So are we going suit and tie again?
Probably, yeah.
All right. What a professional. But yeah, Scott, we will see you soon, my friend. I'll see you tomorrow, and keep up the great work. I know you've been traveling a lot, and I can hear it in your voice. You probably just woke you up this morning, so appreciate you joining the call.
Hey, Scott.
Appreciate it. You got a nice hoodie, by the way. That looks sharp.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, see that? Yeah, I know my role.
Hey, real quickly before we let you go, too, I know there was a couple of Pacer-related moves this week as far as a Pacer signing, but what'd you think of Thomas Bryant taking off for the Cavaliers?
Yeah, I think that was a situation where he's just looking for an option, non-guaranteed contract. And this time of the year, if you're signing, it's you're just looking to try to show what you can do throughout a training camp, and then into the regular season and see if you can hang on there. So I think it was a good match and a good find for the Pacers last year, but then they moved on and he needed to find a new opportunity. And now he's right there with maybe the favorites in the East. It's wide open, though.
All right, buddy. We'll let you go. Thanks so much for stopping by. I appreciate it.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
You can read his stuff at Fieldhouse Files. That's Scott Agnes here on the Payless Liquors hotline. Coming up in a moment, getting ready for a big game in Los Angeles this week. I'm looking forward to that. A little bit later on the show, you guys ready for some Jason Hammer advice on what to do with maybe your extra $5 or $10?
Lately, we've been trying to fade Jason Hammer here, so I don't know about that.
All right. We'll do that next. And something that most of us didn't know about Daniel Jones. I got a little tidbit for you next on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
You're listening to the Fan Morning Show on Sports Radio 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Coming to you live from the DriveHubler.com studios, getting ready for another Week 4 game. NFL, the Colts on the road against the Los Angeles Rams. We've been talking all about Jonathan Taylor today and injuries and Daniel Jones and how he's so dedicated to his craft. Are you familiar, James Boyd, with one of your compatriots at The Athletic? I know there's a million writers there. Larry Holder?
Yeah, I know Larry Holder. He said compatriots. I feel like I'm in the Army or something. But yes, I have a friend named Larry Holder.
He wrote a piece about sports trading cards centered around Daniel Jones this week. And he says, according to Market Movers, which tracks online card sales data, the price for Jones' card has trampolined up 351% from this time a year ago. Compared to other Prism Silver quarterback rookie cards, it's not a crazy expensive card by any means, with a sale of $185 occurring Monday. Still, it displays just how far off the hobby map Jones had fallen, as the card was selling for only $41 a year ago as he was toiling with the New York Giants. And then he says there's Jones' 2019 Donruss Optic Downtown, his PSA 10 rookie insert card. It sold for as low as $350 in March. As of Monday, it sold for $1,325. He's making that. The market never lies, James. Everybody is in on Indiana Jones.
I guess so.
That was a lot of trading card jargon.
I was about to say,
sounded Mandarin to me.
Believe it or not, there are a lot of people out there listening right now that are nodding their head.
Do I have a good holographic Charizard? That's what I need to know. I need to know if
Trying
it's
to find
still
my
valuable.
Pikachu.
That's big in my household, the Charizard cards, man.
It's Series 1, first edition. Let me know.
The point of the story is the market never lies, and Daniel Jones is becoming popular.
Yeah, I think when you're good and you win, I guess, if people want your trading card, I guess is the moral to that story. And, there's a lot of things that obviously stand out. I thought Shane kind of deadpanned a little bit, James, yesterday. And, I asked him, okay, what's been the most impressive thing? Like, there's so many impressive numbers to Daniel Jones. What's been the most impressive? And I thought Shane had a rare moment where he acknowledged how impressive he's been by just saying, yeah, there are a lot of good numbers right now. And
I thought that was a little flex.
It
I like
was
that.
in a Shane Steichen way, that was him flexing. And that was him wanting to acknowledge what he and his quarterback have done here. And again, there are so many things you can point to. To me, it's the in-stride accuracy, the willingness to continue to take shots down the field and hit on those, and then the no negatives, as we talked a lot about on Monday's show. I know that probably is the single thing that stands out, and it's probably just the old C word. And I know Shane said it a million times in the offseason, and we probably overlooked it too much, but it's the old consistency. And that's exactly what Daniel Jones has been. He has been consistent. I saw the NFL put out a stat. He's the only quarterback through 3 weeks with at least 225 passing yards, at least one touchdown, at least 0 picks. In each of those 3 games. So that's what you want. You don't want volatility, and within games he's had that, and it's been a remarkable start to the season for him.
Question is it sustainable? That's what we're all waiting to see. It's 3 games of a 17-game season. We're excited. We're happy. We're having fun. They're getting a real test on Sunday afternoon, James, in so many different ways.
Oh, yes. I'm looking forward to this, for other reasons beyond the game. I mean, L.A. is not a bad place to be.
It's the capital of jug of beer, isn't it?
There you go. But, yeah, I certainly think this is where you can go out there and take your respect. And I say take because no one's going to give that to you, especially in this market with this team. You haven't been to the playoffs since 2020. You haven't won a playoff game since 2018. So there's no reason for, as you always allude to, Jeff, national media or people outside of this city to believe in your team. And so this is an opportunity for you to kind of get into that little bit of foxhole. And again, we're not going off to war here, but hey, you got your guys with you, rally around each other and have a chance to do something special out west and go to 4-0. And again, this is a team, I think the Rams are very good. And tactically, they're usually very good at taking away what you do best. We saw that last week with the Eagles, where they, again, held Saquon Barkley to 2.6 yards per carry. I want to say under 50 yards on the ground overall, and that was after he had went off last year in that playoff game against them. So they don't usually lose or, have the same type of approach twice. They're going to make things hard on you, and it should be a good game.
You guys talk to quarterbacks and coaches today for the other teams? Is that how that goes?
No,
no
they don't do that
longer a
anymore.
thing, man. I missed out on that.
Yeah, you don't. They haven't done that for a few years now in the
I
NFL.
know.
No more visiting player or head coach conference call.
Man,
So
they used to be the best thing every Thursday. You'd get like 10 minutes with the coach and 5 minutes with the quarterback.
yeah, I don't know. I feel like they stopped that probably right around COVID. Honestly, one thing I think also to keep in mind too about Sunday, and we had this discussion a lot last year. Beating legit quarterbacks, and I know Tua's not looked good at all this season, but like I still consider Week 1 you beating a quality and you making a quality quarterback in Tua look god awful. I think maybe that's what really stands out to me about Week 1. There's no debating Matthew Stafford as a quarterback, and it's your longest road trip of the year. It's a quality opponent on both sides of the ball, and it's a guy that I think should be a Hall of Famer, no questions asked. I mean, that's a challenge. That's a big challenge. And it's part of the barometer of like, man, can you imagine checking that box? I mean, the Colts have been thorough, certainly weeks 1 and 3, but now you face this sort of challenge. I think it's just a great, great test. And, I thought Shane Steichen, in a way kind of acknowledged it yesterday and have really embraced that. So I think that aspect of Sunday is exciting too, because the Raiders next week, the Cardinals the week after that, it's not going to have the same juice to it. And, sure, there are other games on the schedule. We'll see where the Chiefs are in a couple months, and you got the Chargers here in a few weeks. But this one, to me, is kind of a big one. Yes, it is September, but still, I think it can be a big feather in the cap. And if you're ranking regular season wins, which I don't know, maybe that's stupid to do, it would be one of the biggest wins this franchise has had in years. No doubt about it, in years, if they're able to go out there and get it done.
All right, big week coming up for the Colts. Also a pretty big weekend for college football around here. All of a sudden, national implications for everybody in our state as they're getting ready to play on Saturday. We'll talk about that next as we continue 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
You're listening to the Fan Morning Show on Sports Radio 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Mark, raiding my playlist again, the great Tom Petty. That's a good one. Good morning, everyone. Happy Thursday. NFL Week 4 starts tonight. Got a Thursday night game coming from the NFC West. Be Seattle and Arizona. Of course, the NFC West pertinent to us this week as we take our shot at, and when I say we, the Indianapolis Colts, as football fans will all be watching that game on a Sunday afternoon, 4:05, out in Los Angeles. We've been talking about it all day long, and if you missed it earlier, please do yourself a favor. Go look at the great stuff that both James Boyd and Kevin Bowen are putting out. KB, on your notes column that you did post yesterday, you were talking about Jonathan Taylor, who was back-to-back AFC Player of the Week, but just some of the jaw-dropping numbers he's been putting up since that fumble in Denver last year. It's just been mind-boggling what he's been doing.
Yeah, leads the league in rushing since that game, and I think it's the second-best stretch of his career. Yeah, I don't want to make probably too much of the fumble and, that all of a sudden inspired him or anything like that, but it is notable just how great he has been in the last 6 games. And like we talked about earlier in the show, it's a huge storyline for Sunday. The Rams were outstanding against Saquon Barkley last week, and it's not a very household name, Rams defense, but they were really, really good last week, and especially against Barkley. So big storyline. I think those are the two that I keep on coming back to. It's, all right, what do you do against Matthew Stafford and disrupting that timing with a rush, with cover? Obviously, you're banged up in the secondary. And then conversely, when you have the ball, obviously it's getting Taylor going. And they are banged up at corner, the Rams. And so, can you use Michael Pittman Jr. and Alec Pierce's situation? Obviously isn't ideal. How much can those others step up? Is this an A.D. Mitchell coming out party? James Boyd, do we see the first ever A.D. Mitchell touchdown on Sunday?
Ooh, that's a good question. I feel like it's a better question for one Jeff Ricker.
14 catches, 180 yards, 3 touchdowns. No,
all right.
I
now that you put the jug of beer down,
I could see him getting 7 or 8 targets this week, couldn't you? If Alec Pierce doesn't play,
yeah, I could definitely see that. I think that is probably what would happen in a scenario like that. I don't know if it's 7 or 8, but he certainly would get multiple targets.
He only had 1 target last year in the game Pierce missed. He played 55 snaps in that game and had 1 target. If he plays 55 snaps on Sunday, he ain't having 1 target.
I was going to say, I was like, I'm pretty sure the quarterback has changed since then.
Right.
So that is why I would lean towards
and
more.
A.D. Mitchell's changed. Let's be honest. It could have been Richardson or Flacco last year, and there was no trust with A.D. Mitchell. I can't sit here and blame Anthony Richardson for A.D. Mitchell's rookie season. I know we want to blame Anthony Richardson for everything right now, but I'm not in that camp. A.D. Mitchell, I think, has shown some needed growth here entering year 2, and so far, you again, statistically, you're squinting a little bit here, but I think you have to be pleased. So, what an opportunity for him coming up on Sunday if indeed Alec Pierce can't go.
We talk about all these things, and we talk about injuries and on both sides of the coin for the Rams and the Colts defensively and things of that nature. But I'll tell you what, 49.5 for the over-under. The prognosticators, the betting line guys, they're expecting a shootout here, James, and I think we might get that.
Yeah, I mean, we would certainly be due, I guess, for something like that, considering how well both offenses are operating. But at the same time, for the Colts purposes, you probably want to get a takeaway in there to make sure you're on the right side of the win-loss column.
All right, that brings us to the Payless Liquors hotline right now. Our next guest, one of the great American sports writers, Dan Wetzel, joining us on the Payless Liquors hotline. Dan, it's that time of year. There's so many good things to talk about. How you been?
Been good. How are you doing this morning?
We're doing outstanding, and so many good things here in the state of Indiana. Colts are undefeated. The Hoosiers are now undefeated. What in the heck is going on down there in Bloomington right now? All kinds of good stuff.
Fever winning, right? You get the fever going. You got it all.
Yeah.
They're just continuing on. That's what they're doing in Bloomington. I think everybody, like a lot of people around at least the country, thought, okay, when's the balloon pop here on the Hoosiers? A little return to mean. They could still be good, but not just totally waxing Illinois the way they did last week. And I don't know if it's going to pop. I don't know. This team looks better than last year to me. Or did that? I mean, that game Saturday night was could not be more impressive. Illinois is a good team. I don't think they were the 9th best team in the country, but they're good. Brett Bielema has got just a style of play that you grind out clock and you run the ball, you control, you have good defense. You don't give up 63 points or get beat 63-10. So obviously, great time for Hoosier football, and it looked like it in the stands there.
Dan, everything you just said cut me because I'm James Boyd here. I am an Illinois alum in Indiana State, and I'm wearing a Hoosier shirt right now. Lost the bet. The shirt's kind of stinky. I have to wear it all week because of some bad decisions that I made predicting that Illinois would beat the brakes off IU, which was the complete reverse of what happened. But on a more serious note, when you hear a coach say, we broke their will, what does that tell you about where IU used to be compared to where they are now?
Well, yeah, I don't know if they ever broke anyone's will. I mean, it's I don't have to tell people there. I mean, it's just,
they broke my will.
30 years, they averaged 4.1 victories a year over 30 years.
Wow.
They haven't really been good since, was it 67 or something like that. So we're going in on close to 60 years. It just didn't happen. Broke anybody's will. And then, Cignetti is just awesome. I mean, he didn't get a I don't even know if you would call getting the Indiana job 2 years ago a big-time job, but he didn't get a power job until he's 62 years old. I don't know how. I don't know what took so long. And he's not waiting around, and he doesn't mind telling people about it. I love the scene at the end of the first half. They put 35 up on Illinois, and they said, "What do you want out of your offense?" And he just said, "More points." He'll just say whatever. He'll just say it. Broke the will. Just total domination. He's a lot of fun. I mean, he's a lot of fun. He puts it out there, and he's one of a kind. So it's obviously cool.
It's a great piece from Dan Wetzel. Curt Cignetti isn't here to play nice, and he may not be close to done. You can find that on ESPN. Dan, I was struck by a couple lines in your story. One, and you just kind of hinted at it right there. He speaks of as if he's trying to sell slogan T-shirts. I did have to laugh at that one. But I thought the one that really struck with me a little bit more was you mentioning how he was the best coach for their situation. And I think you've kind of gotten to that here in some of your answers over the last few minutes. But, yes, IU needed a coach that had won, but I think almost, in hindsight, of course, is 2020, IU needed a dude that's cocky as hell for him to walk in there and tell people in the administration, people in the fan base, people within the university of no, this is how we're going to do it, or you can continue to be the laughingstock of college football. I thought that was a great line you had.
Well, I think this is it's a new era of the sport, obviously, and you see some traditional powers are struggling with that. And Curt Cignetti, was perfect for Indiana, and I think he looked and said about Indiana is not in this era, this is going to take 5 years. I need 4 recruiting class. It's like, no, I'm going to get guys right now. And, college football and college basketball, the transfer portal and NIL and all that, just, everybody hates it and this and that, and it's terrible. And these kids in the portal, they're quitters or they're disloyal or they're, whatever it is. And I think when you are a coach who thinks that way, it may affect your ability to get some of the guys. Cignetti, I think, looks at it a little bit more like I often do, which is that these players are not disloyal. They're, in often cases, they were guys that were overlooked when they were in high school. Maybe they weren't that good when they were 17. Maybe they didn't get to go to the Elite 11 camps or whatever. Maybe they, whatever reason, they played multiple sports. They got better, and they're fighting their way up. They're getting from D2 to the MAC, bang, I get a shot to go to the Big Ten, I'm going. And I'm getting there, and I'm not, I kicked the door in, and now that I'm here, I'm ready to win right now. And that's the same way Cignetti is. You wait that many years, you're this talented of a coach, and you don't get to even in Indiana till you're 62 years old, you're not sitting around saying, hey, I got to take a few years to, just kind of get used to the temperature. You say, we're going to win right now. Let's go. And I think that he's found those kids that are really hungry and really want to play and can play at a very good level. No, you're not going to have Ohio State's roster. You're probably never going to have Ohio State's roster. But that's not – he didn't sit there and talk about that. He said, yeah, let's go out. We're going to beat Ohio State. I think that's translating out. He's perfect for Indiana. And if you look at Indiana's got money, they can get boosters to help pay, and they've got revenue share, and they've got the Big Ten membership and all that. Why not Indiana? And why not be really good at Indiana right away? And I think that he's rallied that up, and I think a lot of people are looking at it. And I would even say, why would I even have to leave here to be great? Like, everyone's like, oh, he'll leave or go to another job. Why? In this era of the sport, what's wrong with staying in Indiana?
Yeah, as shocking as a statement as that would have sounded a few years ago, I think that is correct. The great Dan Wetzel with us here on the Payless Liquors Hotline from ESPN. Dan, we're in year 2 of this college football playoff. We seemingly discuss and debate the format of it endlessly. Would you make any changes to how this playoff format is?
I would not. I like 12. I think it's a good number right now.
Do you like the home game? Do you like the home and the away and all that?
Yeah, I like home games. I would actually do a second round of home games. I would give the top 4 teams to get a bye, get a home game. First thing I would do is not change anything for a couple of years and let's let this cook and let's see, right? I mean, they started talking about how before they even played last year's 12 team, they were already in talks on how they were going to expand it. Like, why don't we see what works, what doesn't? Maybe what's fair, what's not, whatever goes. Let's give it a little bit of time. But I like 12 as a number. I think you get the right blend of you can't just lose a bunch of games and make it. It's not easy to make. I don't like the Big Ten's plan of this 4 automatic bids or 6 teams really getting to play at a play-in game, which is the same thing as being in the tournament. I think it's right now at 12 to me. At least last year looked like the right blend of are you any good? Games have consequences. So I like 12. I wouldn't touch it. Are they going to expand it? Oh, I'm sure they're not listening to me. But I don't see why more is better, especially in football.
Dan Wetzel joining us, obviously writing a lot about college football, a senior writer at ESPN, but also has a great series of books that he puts out. And the 11th edition this past year of Epic Athletes featured Caitlin Clark. We know Caitlin has had an injury-marred season, but what did you learn about Caitlin Clark that maybe you didn't know before you started doing that?
Yeah, so those books are for like middle school readers, kind of.
So
like
for me,
2nd, 3rd grade, yeah. Parents love them, actually. It's because it's a 110-page book, and maybe that's enough. I don't need to read a 350-page book about LeBron James or Steph Curry, all the different Lionel Messi and the guys who did. You know what was interesting to me about Caitlin Clark when I wrote the Caitlin Clark book is Caitlin Clark was always pretty much awesome at everything she did. There was not. She was just a great athlete. She was a tremendous youth soccer player. She played all the travel soccer, the ECNL, and all the stuff. And they talked like, could she have been like a national team level player? I mean, obviously it's really hard to say you get that good, but maybe. Like she played high school soccer, and I know it's high school soccer, it's not. But she played 6 games as a freshman between her. She only played in 6 games because she was traveling so much for basketball. She scored 26 goals as a freshman in 6 games. She was good at every single sport she did. She was good at just whatever she was trying to pull off, she got done. And then I've done a bunch of these books, and it's not always the case. Like there's usually something like Steph Curry was really small, or Serena Williams was like her older sister was better, or whatever. There's usually something. They're all great, but they're not. There's like some little Alex Morgan, the soccer player, got cut from some travel teams when she was young. Caitlin Clark was just like, yeah, I'm the best at whatever I'm doing. I'm the best one at it, and it's pretty amazing. It's a fun story. It was a really fun story to write, to do, and I think obviously super popular with the kids.
Dan, thanks so much for spending time with us this morning. We appreciate you. We appreciate all you do, and we'll talk to you again down the road.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
You bet. Dan Wetzel joining us on the Payless Liquors hotline. You know, he was talking about Caitlin Clark there, and I saw this thing on social media, I don't know, 2-3 weeks ago. They were trying to teach her the fever in the locker room. We're trying to teach her how to juggle, and she was struggling with that. And you could just see the frustration oozing out of her that it didn't come easily and naturally.
Yeah, not to go too far down this rabbit hole, because I could talk about this for hours, but I think her psyche is more like Kobe than it is like other stars. I don't think that Caitlin Clark is always the nicest competitor or even the nicest teammate. Her teammates love her. I don't want to misconstrue anything. But the competitive fire, it reminds me of, I saw Kobe, and I would say the older generation probably says it's MJ-esque as well. Diana Taurasi has a little bit of that when she was playing. Just mean. And I mean that in a very
Kobe,
positive way. Yeah, just cutthroat.
Right,
and I missed that about seeing her play. But you have seen the rest of that team embody kind of that, you know, us against everybody mentality. And it's been cool to see, because I don't think they might have thought they were here at this point, but they keep finding a way to just play one more day, which is really cool.
I want to go back to Dan Wetzel and appreciate him joining us, because I thought his piece on Cignetti was really good. And
no, not this again. I'm joking.
I
agree.
I brought up that statement that he had within the piece of, you know, how important of that type of coach he was for that type of situation. Yeah, Mark, I remember last year at training camp, remember when we had Cignetti on and I asked him if he'd ever watched Hitch?
Yes.
Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Didn't really land.
No.
But my reference was, you are Will Smith needed right now to rehab this image. I still stand by that analogy of, it's kind of what Wetzel was saying there of like, no, you need the good-looking, smooth operator right now. And James, you guys, I feel like all the Cignetti articles are coming out this week. One of your writers over on The Athletic wrote something similar on Cignetti and what he meant to the Indiana program. Yeah. And I thought this quote from Cignetti really stood out. Cignetti said this: "When I got here, I just detected a doom and gloom despair type. I'm talking day one. I just come from a place that won 5 straight championships. I'm used to winning, and I wasn't going to lower my standards. Then I did a couple of national interviews, and I could feel the same type of attitude towards Indiana. I had to raise the expectation level and standard around here and find out if the fan base was dead or just on life support. They need woken up." And if you guys remember, the day after he's hired, he takes the mic at the basketball game and he says Purdue sucks, and he says Ohio State sucks, and he says Michigan sucks. There was real intent behind that. Like, he was not, again, Kurt Cignetti, I think, has told this story. It's not like when he interviewed with Scott Dolson, he said, "Hey, when I grab the mic for the first appearance, I'm going to say all that crazy stuff." He observed the first 24 hours in the job, and he was like, holy bleep, this is a morgue. This is awful. This is Big Ten football, and we're acting like, you know, we can't go beat Owen Valley in a game. And so, to me, when Wetzel writes that, he's the right coach for the right situation. Indiana needed Will Smith and Hitch. They needed someone that was going to be a total, hey, guys, I'm going to be cocky as hell, and people are going to answer to me in this athletic department because football means that much. And obviously, the rest is history and how it's worked out so far.
I win. Google me. That's the best line.
Yeah, I needed Will Smith from Hitch Saturday night last week. I needed some loving. I was hurt after that game.
You did, brother.
But at least you were in the right place at the right time.
I'm not gonna lie to y'all, man. As someone who does not drink, I probably would never ever go to Broadway if I wasn't there for work. Like, it is not a real place to me.
You don't like the people watch?
I really don't, because I feel like I'm watching people who are going to regret what they're doing the next day. And usually it's not even necessarily like the dancing, all the other silly stuff. It's people that like really get torn up and they fall or something. And I'm like, man, you're got the liquor armor on, so you can't feel it right now. But when you wake up tomorrow,
the jug of beer shield.
Yeah, the jug of beer shield is gone, and you realize I'm missing like part of my teeth or my face. I'm like,
boy, you're really going full.
Where were you at on Saturday night?
Sounds like a hangover. I mean, to be fair, I don't think 90% of the people on Broadway are missing teeth the next morning.
They're not like that, but it's always a couple where I'm like, man, that's going to hurt more than the loss to IU. But it's pretty close, though.
All right, coming up in a few minutes, Jason Hammer going to stop by, talk about
that's how Joel was looking last week.
James is kidding about that.
It's on out there at Colts camp today. It's on. Let's check it down.
The Morning Checkdown on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
We're going to be talking to Jason Hammer about some of the lines that are being set up for both college and NFL football this weekend. But I can tell you the Colts and the Rams are going to play at 4:05 on Sunday afternoon. James, you and I were talking about it during the break. The over-under 49.5 in that game, which means that the experts expect a shootout.
Yeah, it should be a pretty, I guess, high-scoring game. But at the same time, I think, like most games, it'll come down to how many teams can make mistakes or stay away from mistakes. And I think for the Colts purposes, you want to try to get a takeaway on this team. If you give Matthew Stafford a bunch of chances with no turnovers, he will usually make you pay.
By the way, the Rams are 3.5-point favorites as we sit here today. Kevin Bowen, we keep an eye on the injury list all day today and tomorrow and Friday and Saturday.
Yeah, so Kenny Moore II did not practice. I know we've talked about it throughout the show, but reclassification from Shane Steichen of that injury. Calf now becomes Achilles. He was sitting down. I don't know if I ever saw him stand, James, during practice yesterday. He was kind of sitting on that Gatorade.
Yeah.
The jug of Gatorade. What he was sitting on with the left boot on that.
I apologize for my slander, Joel Erickson.
That jug's just getting bigger and bigger, Mark Dykton.
On that injured leg. And then Alec Pierce, nothing of practice for him with concussion protocol. DeForest Buckner with the back. Again, Buckner is probably one of the few Colts that could go a full week without practicing. We've seen him do that and play like a third down role. But it is unusual, James, for him to sit out Wednesday practice.
Right,
So
yeah.
I think that is just something to note. And 300-pound dudes that are 30 years old that have back injuries, I feel like you should note it, even though Buckner is a freak.
I was going to say, my nickname for him is God's favorite. So that applies to everyone but Buckner.
That's so well said. So those are some of the injuries to watch. Matt Gonzalez, the starting right guard, had a boot on his right foot, a toe injury for him. So, again, some things to note. And with Kenny and with Alec Pierce, their situations look a little bit more dire for week 4.
All right, and checking in on the Indiana Fever. They will be at the Fieldhouse tomorrow night, Game 3 of their semifinal best-of-5 series against the Las Vegas Aces. Did their job, mission complete. They got a split out in Las Vegas. They now have home court advantage. We'll see if they can protect that tomorrow night. And I know there were some back issues for Lexi Hull. She played through it, all those kinds of things. Did we ever hear anything more about how she traveled back with that and if it got stiff or anything
Not
like
really,
that?
but, I mean, at this point, again, I'll treat Lexi Hull like I treat DeForest Buckner. She'll be out there tomorrow night. No worries about that.
All right. Again, 7:30 tip time, 7:15 the airtime, and our fan pregame show with Eddie Garrison will get you tipped off here on the radio. Major League Baseball last night. Pirates over the Reds by a score of 4-3. The Mets did lose.
Where are you going to go?
To the Chicago Cubs.
Play it all, Mark. Seriously,
try to glaze right over that one.
The
I
Reds
see.
need something. Play it all, Mark. All of it.
No, you don't. You want them dead. I'm trying to help you out, Kevin.
We have anything else? Reds audio? Has anyone else on the show said anything about the Reds this year?
Reds rock. Can I have that?
Now I'll have to pull that one because that's the first I think that you've said.
Reds
that.
rock.
Anything to describe their winding road into the playoffs?
I'm getting it right now. I got it. Maybe use this later today.
Not only was it long, but it was deep and wide. People excited.
Once again, that's just describe a line for a bobblehead, folks. That's nothing else.
And it was an accurate description, too.
I'll take your word for it.
The Reds could have used the baseball looking like that to the outfield.
So you have taken his word for it.
In the 11th last night.
Former Hoosier Kyle Schwarber got his 55th and 56th home runs of the year last night. The Phillies got a win 11-1 over the Marlins. They are on their way to the postseason as well. The Cardinals lost to the San Francisco Giants, and the White Sox lost to the Yankees by a score of 8-1. And it is winding down last few games of the season, in the regular season, for Major League Baseball. Anything else you guys want to throw in before we head off?
I cannot wait for the Ryder Cup tomorrow from Bethpage. Stay black. Again, Rory McIlroy 2 years ago, right after the Europeans won over in Europe, he said we cannot wait for Bethpage and to win there. So this has been one circled on the calendar for quite a while. I think one of the more anticipated Ryder Cups ever.
Is that on your list of courses to get played, or have you been there?
I have not. My old roommate, shout out to Nate Worsma, he did play it when we were living together. He was out there for a work trip, so Sounds like it's very difficult to get on there.
As I
even for a
understand, you
public
kind of
golf
have
course.
to. It's a public golf course, but people who get on literally have to spend the night in the parking lot.
Yeah, it is
in
one
line.
of those. So, again, it should be an awesome atmosphere. The New York crowd will be rowdy, and I think you could have maybe an interaction or two that leads to some maybe some interesting things here when it comes to the New York crowd and the European golfers.
All right, your betting market explained next on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
You're listening to the Fan Morning Show on Sports Radio 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
All right. Time to turn into degenerate radio for folks like myself. Mark, can I include you in that?
Degenerate radio.
Can I include you in that? Yeah, Mark says that's fine too. Hey, look, we like to play around with a little bit of cash on the weekends, college football, NFL, whatever it might be. And every Thursday, we like to turn our attention to Jason Hammer from across the hall, who's been known to engage in a little of that behavior from time to time, right?
Got the whole podcast titled The Degenerates Next Door. That's what we do. Hey, before we get rolling, I got beef with Kevin Bowen.
Oh,
I got a problem.
You're the only person in America with beef with Kevin Bowen.
I've had beef with him all week. He served me crow and humble pie.
You earned that, though.
No, I ain't earned nothing. Mark, cut these cameras. I keep telling you.
This is the Festivus episode of Seinfeld. I got a lot of problems with you people, and now you're going to hear about it. So we are in week 4 of the NFL season, right? And I've been coming on your show. Thank you so much for having me for over a year. Last year, we went on an amazing run. This year, in terms of picking the game, the big bet, right? The one we kind of hang our hat on. So far this year, we're 2-1. It's a lot better than 0-3. But the first thing I hear when I walk in here is Mr. Cincinnati Red, Mr. Notre Dame Fighting Irish over here giving me crap about we're not perfect so far this year. Well, I'm sorry, Kevin. Not all of us can be the Notre Dame football program. Yeah. Oh, wait.
Oh, gosh.
I'm Team Hammer, baby.
I hold you to an incredibly high standard. Last year, as you just alluded to, you were Tiger in 2000. You were incredible. And this year, I feel like with more of our individual props, not our team bets.
Prop bets have not been
You're
great.
a little Tiger Woods in 2025. And so I view week 4 as a time to let's kick in the ass. Let's get back on the winning way. I want a little shot here on these Thursday shows. Last year, Mark, how many times did Hammer come in here and grace ourselves with some very nice alcohol? So thank you. Thank you for that. I know it's in there. Purely, I'm just trying to coach you. It is a motivational tactic. I stand corrected. You are right. 2-1 on the bets.
I'm being compared to post-Ela Nordgren golf side upside the head Tiger Woods.
Yes, exactly. An 8-iron to your back windshield. So let's get into it tonight. It is another close line. I feel like we've had a few of these on Thursday night besides last week. Cardinals, Seahawks, 2 teams the Colts will see later in the year. Your thoughts on Thursday night football?
Money is totally flipped on this one when the line first opened up. Arizona was an early favorite, and then the market hammered the Seahawks to the point where they're now a 1.5-point favorite. Normally, you fade the public, right? The public is usually wrong. That's why the house has these casinos looking the way they do. And normally, the home team has a big advantage on Thursday night. But we're going to throw all that crap out the window this week because, man, Seattle, I think, is just a better team. If you're just looking at this objectively, who's got a better defense? Seattle. Who's got better receivers? I believe it's Seattle because Marvin Harrison Jr. can't figure it out right now. All the intangibles, I'd even go quarterback right now. Darnold greater than Kyler Murray.
He's a wild card, Murray is, though.
Kind of is, but the Seahawks, for whatever reason, play so well on the road. Going back to last year, they've won 7 straight road games.
Wow.
That's hard to do in the NFL, right? And they've covered the spread in 6 of their last 7 games against the Cardinals. So we're going to lay the 1.5 tonight. I just don't feel great about the road team on a Thursday, but the better team on a Thursday also usually wins on that short week. So we're going to lay 1.5 with Seattle. The Cardinals have been outgained in every single game they've played so far. I don't know if they can keep pace offensively.
Well, that's a lot of good ammo there, okay, with the road Seahawks. All right, individually, this is where we need the uptick. This is where I believe in you. I know it's in you. You were incredible last year.
Hammer, how far is that reach?
You were Usain Bolt. You were Serena Williams. You were Peyton. You were everybody.
I've got Ryder Cup pressure on me right now.
Exactly. 18th hole of the Ryder Cup, the best pick. What do you got for individual stuff tonight?
All right, so Kyler Murray. Let's talk about the wild card here. Without James Conner in the mix, where are their rushing yards going to come from? And I'm looking at Kyler Murray. The total for him tonight is around 27.5. Over-under rushing yards for Kyler Murray. The 3 games this year with James Conner, he's had 7, 7, and 6 attempts. We're going to ride the lightning and go over tonight. Over 27.5. if you feel like the Seahawks may have the lead or if this is a close game, they're going to be going forward on fourth down. They're moving the chains. They're going to have to run the ball eventually. I think a couple broken plays get us free here, over 27.5. And this one, there's a segment on our podcast called Let's Get Nuts. 83.5 is the total yards receiving for Jackson Smith and Jigba tonight. 83.5 is a big number. But in the first 3 games this year, 124, 103, and 96. Even if he's off by 13 yards compared to the worst game that he's played this year, our toes are still tapping. And plus, when Sam Darnold finds a dude that he likes, go back to his time in Minnesota, look at the numbers Jefferson put up. Target-wise, we're getting 13, 10, and 6 so far in the games for Seattle, so he's looking for him. He's a deep threat. We're going to get nuts. We're going over 83.5 receiving yards. Jackson Smith and Njigba tonight. Let's go.
There's one of the Seattle players I named earlier for your liking, Kevin Bowen.
Yes, indeed. Okay. I am nodding my head at all of this.
I got one for you tonight. You tell me what you think. Seahawks, as well as they play defensively, they are last in the league against tight ends. Trey McBride might be right now the best tight end in the National Football League. If you want to go safe, you could go over 70 at plus 126. But if you want to get freaky,
let's get nuts.
If you go over 100 yards for him tonight, that's 430, plus 430.
I don't even think plus money is safe. I'll take plus money all day. Plus money's not safe. Plus money's great.
But I think
If
he's
Jeff
going over
Rickard
70.
streaking around roundabouts in Carmel.
My point is, I think he's going over 70. That's my safe bet. Over 70 at 128.
I like it.
You talked about Marvin Harrison Jr.'s struggling. There's a real connection between Murray and McBride, and they're going up against a team that has not done well against tight ends tonight. I'm just saying, I'm thinking hard about that one. Thinking hard. Am I crazy?
No, not at all. Not at all. Speaking of somebody you guys were talking about earlier, Michael Pittman Jr., right? If you want plus money, anytime touchdown this Sunday, Michael Pittman Jr., I found it at plus 210 last night.
I like that.
I do too. I think the Colts can throw. I think the
Especially with
Colts can
Alex
score.
Pierce's injury situation.
Right.
The Rams' corners are banged up. Little
Bingo.
smaller corners. We saw, Pittman's Jr.'s touchdown.
I hit
honestly,
that
this
last
past
week.
Sunday.
Anytime
That was
touchdown.
physicality,
Yeah.
which he's great at. Okay, anything collegiately, Colts, Rams. I know you just said Pittman. Anything else on the weekend slate? It's a great college football weekend.
Oh, this is the best. I love it. Man, a lot of people are into Bama this weekend. I'm not. I think Georgia between the hedges at less than a field goal is where I'm going to hang my hat. I get last year.
Is that really the line? Less than a field goal?
2.5.
Wow.
They're begging us to do that,
Oh, I'd
aren't
definitely
they?
take that.
Yeah. So I remember last year at one point Georgia was down 30-7 to Alabama in Tuscaloosa. But by the time they figured it out, Georgia took the lead late in that game. They still lost, but they took the lead with like 2.5 minutes to go. They've played since then, but I still feel like it's kind of a revenge spot for Kirby and Georgia. You don't find that too often for one of the great red asses in all of college football, Kirby Smart. So home game in Georgia, style points matter. I will take Georgia less than a field goal at home every time.
IU, a touchdown road favorite. Notre Dame, also a road favorite in the SEC. Any of those from a local standpoint?
I'm looking at the under in that IU-Iowa game.
Ooh, under after 63 last week.
Market's going to overreact a little bit because IU just put a beat down on Illinois. Man, Iowa is a tough place to play. They usually slow things down. I think that game reeks of an under. I think IU wins it. I don't have a good feel on the side, but we'll go under on that one. And I do think your Irish get the cover in that one.
That's a 47.5 over under Indiana and Iowa. Again, Indiana 7.5 point favorite.
Right.
I'm kind of loving the fact that Kevin Bowen's up on all these lines and everything.
Oh, he
man.
is.
I'm digging it.
He's a low-key degenerate
I'm
next
digging
door.
it.
There's nothing low-key about it.
I'm a junior, and thank you, James. I think some of my venom came out earlier. So, Hammer, a public apology to you.
No apologies. We're about wins and losses around here.
Right now,
family
tonight,
members yell at each other.
He's
right?
working
That's what we do.
He's working a clipboard today.
Seattle.
He's like Carly Ursay over here. He's got a headset on and a clipboard.
This is the most generous
Thank you.
you've
The
looked
only
in
thing
quite some
that
time.
I'm just not as dressed nicely as Carly
I
Ursay
like
Gordon
that
is.
shirt, though.
Seattle Kyler Murray over 27.5 rushing yards, and Jackson Smith-Njigba 83.5. The over on that as well. I think we got winners there.
Let's do it.
Prize picks, baby.
We're going to win so much money that we'll be able to finish all of the construction in downtown Indianapolis on ourselves.
God.
So you're trying to retire then?
Wouldn't that be a miracle right there?
Thanks, buddy. Give the show a plug.
So Degenerates Next Door Sports Betting Podcast, new NFL one drops this afternoon at 1 o'clock, anywhere you get your podcasts, and the afternoon radio show, Hammer and Nigel, 3 to 7 on 93 WIBC.
You know how I know he's refocused this week, Kevin? He's been bringing in like all of his notes on a folded up old legal pad, yellow piece of paper. It's all typewritten and organized this week.
I don't think you were in the room when I told the guys I left my phone at home too.
I know.
So
I don't know if that's a good
off.
thing or a bad thing for where we're at for tonight's bets. Maybe he's so focused on the bets he just forgot his phone. So maybe that is a good thing.
All right, Jason. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks, buddy.
Thank you.
There he is, Degenerates Next Door. Heck, I'd just save a place for me. That's all I'm saying. All right. Coming up next, we'll tell you what's on tap for tonight as we continue 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. Been a lot going on the show this morning here as we've been taking a long look back at the incredible life and times of Nancy Leonard, and we'll continue to do that throughout the day here today on 93.5, 107.5 The Fan. I encourage you again to go back and look at the website and listen to some of the shows from Jake Query yesterday and JMV as they were talking about Nancy and all the things that she and Slick both had provided this city and just how important they were, certainly if you're a sports fan, but even on the periphery of sports. Just an amazing life, an amazing impact, and everything you'd want to know and learn about those two great people. Check out those shows yesterday, Jake Query, JMV, and I thought we had a lot of fun remembering Nancy today. And when I say fun, celebrating the life of Nancy Leonard. And I think always that's the way I like to look at things. We celebrate the life of Nancy and Slick Leonard today, specifically Nancy.
Absolutely.
And check out Mark Dykton's montage.
Yes.
Excellent. Mark's best work, and I think he does such a great job with those openers. Quite often, this one definitely a different tune to it, but I think the perfect balance. So, Mark, tremendous.
Good work, Mark. And
that's up on the podcast page for those that have not seen it yet. Mark played a couple times to open up the 7 and 8 o'clock hours, and that will be up on our page, the Fan Morning Show, wherever you find your podcast.
All right, Thursday Night Football coming up a little bit later on tonight. We have to wait another day for the Fever to get back in action. What's on your agenda tonight, James
I'll be
Boyd?
watching this game. I say this, and I'm refusing to lie anymore about it. Every year, there's some game that comes up on Thursday's schedule, and I'm like, oh, that looks terrible. I don't want to watch that. Oh, yuck. And I'm watching it because that is the football and sports addict in me, I suppose. And so there's other vices out there, I suppose, but that is one that has certainly got me in the grips.
And two Colts opponents coming up. So, again, the Colts play
Good point.
The NFC West. The NFC West, I believe, record-wise, is the best division of football right now. I think if you added up the 4 teams, then that division, I believe it is the best division so far in football. Colts will see the Cardinals here coming up in a couple of weeks, and they'll see the Seahawks. Shane Steichen very close with Mike McDonald, their head coach. They'll see the Seahawks in a December trip. You want to talk about inclement weather games on the Colts schedule? There are not many of them. December in Seattle. James Boyd, good luck.
Nothing like cold rain.
Hey, you know me, being as skinny as I am, I usually keep something around me to keep me warm, whether it's a hoodie or a coat or whatever. I'll be prepared. How about long johns? Shout out to Grandma Boyd. She made sure that I had those on. We went for the bus stop back in the day.
You're going to look like Ralphie's brother in A Christmas Story. You're just all bundled up going out
there. I got some long johns for that Notre Dame-Indiana playoff game last year. They were so handy.
I'm telling you. I thought as a kid,
the ski mask and everything.
The least swaggiest thing ever. Oh, this is disgusting. I didn't want to wear it. But every time I didn't wear it, and I was out there shivering on the bus stop waiting for the CTA in Chicago with my grandma, she would look at me and tell me, you see, I've lived longer than you. You should listen more.
How about this here from Mike? Mike in the Villages. Shout out to Mike. He goes, I always get a tea time on Thursday so I can play by myself and listen to you guys. Just finished 11 holes. How great is that?
What kind of life is he living?
I love
That's a great life
Thursday
there,
morning
Mike.
golf. He's got us on, the speaker, whatever. As
Appreciate
he's playing
that.
11 holes.
I'd like to Freaky Friday him because I would like to be in his body and have that kind of time.
Amen to that. Now, Mark Dykton, you are probably the closest golf fan of anybody here in the studio. Will you Ryder Cup it? Will you consume it?
I was going to ask you for any plays or anything for the Ryder Cup because I was like, I got some odd boosts and everything like that, but I don't really know what I should be looking at here.
Some fun plays you can get, and again, it's a team competition throughout the week. It's team Friday and Saturday. You have partners. Scotty Scheffler and whatever. Colin Morikawa will be a duo, or Xander Schauffele and Patrick Cantlay. You can bet on which player on each team, Mark, will win the most points.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that can be enticing. If you don't think it's Scotty Scheffler for the U.S., you could get a lot of good money on that there. And again, it's the 1 week out of the year where I call Bryson DeChambeau a fan, not a foe.
Ooh,
I think that's also so if he does terrible, you can be like, this is why I don't like him. He's ruining the country.
That's kind of where I'm at right now with Indiana football. It's like if you don't win a national championship, it's a bust.
Mark, that's such a great point.
So if Bryson carries Team USA to a win, does that soften your overall view of him?
I love him, and on Monday's show, I'll praise him, and then when we get to Tuesday, I'm done with him. By the way, better chance IU plays for a national championship or the Colts play for a Super Bowl?
That's a great question. I would
IU national championship. Did you see?
Yeah.
What just happened to my team? Lord have mercy.
And before you answer,
What, the greatest team ever assembled?
The fact that Jeff Rickard just responded to that statement I made with, "That's a great question."
We're in the Twilight Zone?
We're in the freaking Twilight Zone. I just said that out loud. Indiana playing for a college football national championship or the Colts playing for a Super Bowl, and neither of you laughed
And
at
I'll
me.
tell you why, though.
Nobody laughed.
This is what's interesting, because it's not just this little table here. We all know that Indiana went to the playoffs last year, and by most accounts, everybody thinks they're a better football team this year. So you get a break along the way, you get rolling, you saw the speed and physicality. You think, it's not so crazy. I don't know that I'd put money on it yet, but it's not so crazy. I was looking at stuff last night. Computer models right now give the Colts a 5% chance of going to the Super Bowl. Think about that.
That's 5% more than I had coming into this season, that's for sure.
Right. That's insane. Mark, does it sound totally insane from your perspective? Not necessarily
insane.
A Colts?
Insane in the membrane.
I'm going to choose the Colts out of spite. Indiana, I hope you lose this weekend against Iowa. No.
Look at them doubling. Wow, come on.
Now you can make some pretty good money. I mean, honestly, for the gamblers out there, Indiana's a touchdown favorite.
Brother, I will never pick against IU football again. I've learned my lesson.
Mm-hmm. Thanks for joining us this morning. We appreciate that. We appreciate you guys listening however you listen every single day. Mark, fantastic job. If you didn't hear it,
thank you.
Go back when the show gets posted and listen to the very beginning of the show. Tribute to Nancy Leonard. She and her family and Slick in our prayers, as always, throughout the day. Jake will have more coming up from noon to 3. JMV, I believe it's at the Slippery Noodle